In many cases, somebody you and I look up to will say something to us that we choose to believe for the rest of our lives. Unfortunately, it could be something where you have ADHD, you're mentally ill, you're poor, you're this, you're that, and we get to choose to buy into that or not. And if you
how do you choose whether to buy into whether you're poor? What fucking world do we live in? Oh gosh, golly gee, I'm just gonna forget that I'm poor and then I won't be poor. Oh my god. Guys, have you thought about just like not being poor? Have you thought about just ignoring how poor you are, that your stomach is grumbling and you're not able to afford healthcare? Yeah, just if you ignore the fact that your needs are not being met, maybe it'll just go away. Bingo! I don't care because I'm a bingo winner and you're not. Hello everyone, thank you so much for watching. As always, thanks for clicking on this video. This should be definitely an interesting video, to say the least. Patrick Bet-David is a polarizing figure, to say the least, in terms of almost a Dave Ramsey style content that, you know, tries to make people think that they can get rich fast by just following these few tips. I swear, just pay for my course. It'll pay dividends, I swear, bro. But it should be an interesting episode nonetheless. I had a few people I know throughout this creator space who were in the episode, and from what I heard from them, the episode did go pretty well. Now, granted, I have not watched the episode. I try to do all of these episodes as blind reaction as possible. Of course, I do see some clips ahead of time in terms of the teasers that Jubilee releases, but other than that, I'm going into this blind. You know, I'm not, you know, I did not meticulously prepare. I only did a little bit of preparation for this episode, which I will show you guys in a second, but I'm looking forward to it. In terms of kind of news, you know, just to start off the bat here, I'm in talks with Jubilee about some future episode and opportunities for me to continue being on that network, and from what I'm hearing from them and the conversations we're having, there should be some good stuff coming down the pipeline, so definitely keep your eye out for that. I'm looking forward to those opportunities. I think you guys will enjoy those videos. Hope you all are having a good Labor Day or Labor Day weekend. If you're watching this video on the day I put it out, I'm going to put it out tomorrow, which will be Labor Day. So hope you're having a good Labor Day. Hope you're having a nice day off. If you're working, hope you're getting paid, or you should be getting paid time and a half. You can thank a union for that. Definitely unions have done great work to ensure better working conditions for all workers, and this is kind of just an acknowledgement of that, though. It is definitely true that very often Labor Day, the people who have off work are often people who have salary jobs and not hour jobs. So Labor Day is sometimes the opportunity for those who have the luxury of being off work to enjoy that, while the people who have the most essential jobs actually are forced to still work. So there's definitely a bit of irony in that, and the fact that that type of holiday does not actually give everyone a full day off work, because places still have to be open, you know, hospitals still have to run, you know, gas stations still need clerks, service workers, restaurants still have to have workers, you know, there has to be something for people who are off to do. So it often falls on the back of the low-wage workers to fill those roles. So there still should be time and a half because it's a federal holiday, so they are getting paid more. But regardless, a lot of work to be done. That's kind of beside the point a little bit. Don't want to get too off on that on that tangent. I could talk about working conditions and labor rights for a long time, this entire video, but just definitely be grateful to unions and workers' rights organizations that something like Labor Day exists, though it's obviously not perfect. In terms of this video, a lot of you in the last episode that I was in, I was talking a decent amount about how often I'm able to predict what people are going to say in the episodes, and I think I floated the idea of a bingo card, and there was some positive reception to that from that video, so I decided to do that. I actually created a bingo card for this video. Now, granted, I have not watched it, okay? I promise you, okay? I have not watched this video before. I'm putting in just from what I've heard of Patrick Bet-David. Now, are some of them kind of low-hanging fruit of things that are probably obviously going to happen? Yes, but it'll be interesting to see whether I get bingo, whether you get bingo as well. I linked in the link below in the description, there's a link to this bingo card. So you can click on it, it'll randomize all the options I put in, and you can kind of follow along with me, and comment below if you end up getting bingo. I think it should be a fun time, so I don't really think I have much else. Without further ado, let's first take a look at the bingo card. I'll explain all the options I have there, and not too long after that, we'll get right into the video. So let's take a look at the bingo card. All right, so we're taking a look at the bingo card here. If you have your bingo card pulled up as well, obviously it'll be in a different order because it should be randomized, but just kind of wanted to talk through some of these, why my predictions are as they are in terms of why I think it's going to happen in the episode based on whether just the general Jubilee format or specifically to someone like Patrick Bet-David. So kind of we'll talk through it, and I'll let you know. So profanity is used, very often in these episodes, things get heated, so I think it is more than likely that profanity will be used at some point in the video, so I'm curious to see if that happens, and I'll be able to check that off. Part of this, too, if you click on something, it should kind of give you a X'd out there, so you'll be able to follow along, as I will be doing throughout the video. So next one here is that Patrick Bet-David calls something basic economics or economics 101. They very, very often do this, people, capitalists, people who got rich and pull up the ladder behind them, often just call it's basic economics, bro. Socialism just can't work because then people don't have any incentives like scarcity and supply and demand. Like if it uses any basic economics or like this is just like supply and demand language like that, I think that's gonna suffice for this square right here. Karl Marx being mentioned. It's an episode about anti-capitalists. So I'll be curious whether Bet-David himself brings up Marxism or Karl Marx, anything like that, in the nature of Marx. Maybe I should have just said Marxism. Anything in that nature, if that gets mentioned by him or by one of the people he's debating, it'll be curious to see if that gets brought up. Just thought that would be there. Next one here is that Bet-David says that poor people are leeching off of the system, leeching off welfare, something in that regard. It's very common for those who make a lot of money in this sense and are very rich to be very out of touch and kind of basically blame those who are the least well off for leeching off the system instead of their rich buddies and them who are exploiting tax loopholes to get enormous benefits, degrees and degrees times over, like, I don't know, a single mother getting extra food, or barely enough food, if that, to survive off of food stamps. Like, it's very common. I would not be surprised if it happens, hence why I put that on here. We'll see if it happens. Bet-David saying that capitalism is needed for innovation and competition. This happens all the time in terms of these capitalists. Capitalists are very often saying that, no, there's just people would have no incentive to live if we didn't have, a free market system. Like, I swear, why would people develop drugs? Why would people develop life-saving drugs if they can't profit billions off of it? Why would they even research a drug for cancer or a cure for cancer if they can't, exploit that for their own gain? Like, it's a complete oversimplification of human nature, thinking that people are so inherently selfish that they can't do any good if there's not some self-interest. It's kind of psychological egoism, since we only do things for our own benefit, that is just so antithetical to human nature. But of course, they want you to believe that the only way we're ever going to get life-saving treatments is if in fact someone can exploit that for their own gain and actually hoard that to themselves and cause other people to die because they jack up the price. It's one of many examples. So I have a feeling that's going to happen. Next one is that Bet-David tells a story about his buddy. I've seen videos of him before. He loves to talk about his friends. He loves to talk about anecdotes. So I have a feeling he's going to tell a story about one of his buddies who got rich because of the American dream or capitalism. This idea of rags to riches story. I think there's something else. The one right here about how he uses himself as an example of why the American dream of capitalism can work. I believe, if I'm correct, he grew up and fled Iran. So once again, people who think that, because they made it, everyone else would be able to as well. And everyone who doesn't do it, it must be their fault, like something like that. I think it's likely that a participant, one of the people in the circle, one of the anti-capitalists, will call capitalism exploitative. Just think it's something that's likely going to happen. Whether the circle will laugh at something Bet-David says, I think it is likely that will happen. I imagine there will be a fair amount of ridiculousness and asinine takes that are spewed from his mouth. So would not be surprised if the circle laughs at him. I already talked about that, him citing himself as the example of the American dream and why capitalism works. I see there's a lot too. He tries to just randomly drop inspirational wisdom. This is a thing. They're basically trying to sell themselves as life coaches, or if I swear if you do this, it's so simple. So money is value, or value is reflective. I don't have a good example off the top of my head right now, but I have a feeling he's going to try to say something that's really deep that actually means very little. There's actually a word for this. It was coined by the philosopher Daniel Dennett brilliant thinker. He called it a deepity. It's basically something that's supposed to sound deep and like intellectual and like super profound, but when you actually think about it for a second, it's actually saying quite nothing. So curious to see if that happens. I think it's possible or likely that one of the participants, one of the anti-capitalists, will call Bet David a heartless, or just like, oh, you don't care about people, greedy millionaire. You're just you're a greedy rich dude, which he is. I think it is likely that that will happen. So that's why I put it there. I think it is likely that Bet David will say that capitalism is not perfect, but it's the best system that we have. I think that is very often something that people who support the system of capitalism and the status quo say. It's just like, okay, I get it's not perfect, but any other system, regardless of whether it's actually been tried, is worse. It's so much worse. So I think that that is likely something that's going to come out of his mouth when someone brings up one of the very, a lot of points that can be brought up in terms of how capitalism is very exploitative and doesn't lead to people's flourishing and leads people to ration insulin, diabetics to ration insulin, people to be living paycheck to paycheck, creates artificial scarcity, things like that. I think it is very likely that Bet David will just respond to all this criticism by being like, but it's better than whatever other failed quote unquote socialist or communist project he brings up that was neither of those things likely. But yeah. Free space. I mean, I could have just put free space, but I decided to make it Jubilee related. So if someone raises their red flag, I mean, obviously this is going to happen. It's a surrounded episode, so obviously, but just thought I'd make that the free space. Next one is someone mentions valuetainment. That's Bet David's kind of media empire or media company that basically just kind of tries to profit off of giving people like lukewarm, false advice of thinking, oh, if you do X, Y, or Z, you can be like me. Yeah, basically just scamming people into thinking that they can get rich too just because he did it. I think it's likely that he's going to do that. I think Bet David is probably going to talk about freedom, how much he likes freedom. They like to tie capitalism to freedom. Free markets equal a free people. The famous, I think, Milton Friedman quote, it would be, the freer the market, the freer the people. I think it is very likely that he's going to say, oh, the reason we're so free is because of markets. And don't you like freedom? Don't you like how free you are here? If you're in another country, I'll talk about that in a second, you wouldn't be free. So, yeah. Next one is a screaming match ensues. I don't know. These tend to get heated, so I think not just will profanity be used. I think it is more than likely that both of them will be talking over each other pretty loudly. I might broaden the definition or understanding of screaming match. We can kind of think of like both of them if they're talking over each other very passionately or loudly. Maybe we can count that, but I don't know. Bet David asks why people risk their lives to come to America. So this happens all the time with like conservatives or people in general. It's like, oh, if America's so bad, then why are people dying to come here? Just a ridiculous thing to say, because even if we were to accept that America is better in certain ways, it doesn't mean that it's beyond criticism or that like the criticisms of it are not valid. This is known as the fallacy of relative privation. The idea that because a worse problem exists somewhere else, the lesser problems are not important. Like, it'd be like saying, like, oh my God, I'm so sad my dog died. And you'd be like, well, both of Sarah's parents died last week, so you really shouldn't be sad about your dog dying. Like, that's ridiculous. Okay, that's not how the world works. Just because there's a worse problem elsewhere, it doesn't negate the problems that are here. It also neglects the fact that much of the reason as to why people come to this country, even though it is not perfect, is because the U.S. destabilizes other regions militarily, which causes those problems. So like it's a ridiculous thing, but of course I guess he's going to use that, I would imagine, as a kind of a crutch to be like, oh, if America and capitalism is so bad, why are there so many people immigrating to this country? Why do you have so many immigrants who are just begging to get in here? Next one I think is going to kind of go hand in hand with that. If someone in the circle who is not the biggest fan of capitalism, I would imagine, is likely going to bring something up. He's going to be like, well, why don't you go to Venezuela or Cuba or China or whatever other socialist or communist country he brings up. I think it's very likely that he's going to do that. Bet David's saying capitalism has lifted billions out of poverty. Yeah, of course, because things get better, therefore capitalism exists, therefore capitalism makes things better, as if that's not the most basic textbook definition of a correlation causation fallacy. Like, a majority of people can be lifted out of poverty. You have to show how that actually led to capitalism and not just the world improving independent of capitalism, which I think in many ways capitalism has harmed or has put more people into poverty. It's just true that capitalism has put more people into poverty, and social programs and things, basically the guardrails of capitalism are the things that have kept it afloat. If we kept it as at a free market, free for all, whatever it goes, that it would be much worse, and that would be the true capitalism. Okay, it is the social safety nets and the guardrails on capitalism that have led to the people being lifted out of poverty, as well as the advancements in technology. They're not inherently tied to that. I mean, things like the smartphone and the internet were entirely government funded in terms of when they first came out. They were not funded directly from capitalism, and capitalism benefited from that, but it was not the primary cause or innovation. And many of those things have led to more people surviving. Something like penicillin when it was founded. I don't want to get too much into this, but I'm forgetting the guy who founded penicillin. He sold the patent for $1. He didn't believe in the profit. And how many lives have been saved by penicillin and the widespread use of that? That's not capitalistic. And it led to more people being lifted out of poverty and having better lives, regardless. Next one as well, the whole meme of, oh, you like capitalism? Well, why do you use an iPhone? Or if you didn't have capitalism, you criticize capitalism. You speak into a microphone that was made from capitalism with cameras that film us because of capitalism. And we're talking with words because of whatever, like that, all that stuff I think is likely to happen. This is something notorious that Bet David does. He just offers people jobs. Like, I've seen this happen a lot. I'd be shocked if this doesn't happen in this episode, that he literally just offers someone a job. Now, whether it's rhetorical or whether he's like just actually trying to give people jobs, I mean, it's not like he's trying to greatly improve their life. I almost am certain that it probably is rhetorical, but I think it is likely. Also, sorry that it gets cut off on the screen. I cropped the window in to be perfect for the Jubilee video, and I guess it cuts off the bottom here. But yeah, so it says PBD offers someone a job at the bottom. Next one is someone, likely one of the participants, mentions how capitalism is linked to colonialism. Very true. How capitalism led to the exploitation of regions such as in Africa and Asia. I think it's likely that someone's going to bring that up. We'll be curious to see how Bet David responds to that. Probably something to the effect of, well, it happened everywhere, therefore it's not bad. Like, ridiculous. Bet David gets fact checked. I'll be curious to see how the fact checks work. I know sometimes there's a lot of fact checks, and other times there's very few. I know Jubilee is pretty inconsistent with their fact checks, so it'll be interesting to see whether Bet David does get fact checked. I guess I'm kind of assuming like that he gets fact checked and he's wrong, although maybe we can keep it broad just to see maybe if they fact check him and he's correct. And the one right next to it, or the one two over, is a participant gets fact checked to see if someone he's debating gets fact checked. And then the last one, or I guess the one I skipped over, was that Bet David asked someone, how many jobs have they created? This is very common for capitalists to be like, oh, you're against capitalism? How many businesses have you started? Like, okay, what does that even have to do with anything? Like, just because someone hasn't personally started a business doesn't mean that they can't have criticisms of capitalism. It's just so many non sequiturs that I see him often bring up in a lot of his other stuff over and over. And he's very much the style of person to do that. So I'll be shocked if that does not happen. But yeah, that's kind of all I've got in terms of the bingo. So definitely follow along. Like I said, in the comment section below, I have that link, so you can click on that, so you can follow along. I think it should be a fun time. Let me know if you get bingo. I'll be curious to see. I'll definitely be using my card here, and let me know if you end up getting bingo as well. But without further ado, let's get right into it.
This is not the United States of Patrick Bet David. This is the United States of America.
Would you take money from a capitalist to help you go see a specialist?
I mean, yeah, sure, why not?
But would you also be open to seeing somebody else I choose as a psychologist that may...
No.
You're not?
No.
When you're offering people here jobs, right? You're saying that they would have to pay you money to get that. So in reality, you're trying to convince them to pay you money to be part of your company.
Claims of defaming. Be very careful defaming when you don't know the fact.
Does that count?
David, I'm an entrepreneur and founder of PBD.
Does that count? He said when you offer him jobs. I mean, I just need this shtick. I'll market. Let's market on here. Patrick Bet David offers someone a job. There we go. It's mentioned that it happens later in the video, so we'll confirm that it actually happens. And I guess just that he's not bringing it up out of nowhere, but I have to imagine that he does do that. So there we go. We already got one. How far are we in the video? Less than 30 seconds in. It'll be something. All right. There we go.
Podcast. Today, I'm surrounded by 20 anti-capitalists.
There we go.
My first claim is incentive is the engine of capitalism. Remove it and the system fails.
Kind of like innovation. Close to one of the options here. Hey, here's Mason.
Hey.
Mason's
great.
great.
To meet you, Patrick.
What's your name?
My name's Mason.
Mason, good to meet you.
Yeah. I'm value-tained. I'm a big fan of the channel.
Are you
So,
really?
yeah, I do watch it quite regularly.
Very cool.
I do not agree with your claim.
There we
I
go.
don't think that incentives are
Value-tained. That's
only
a
born
reference
out-
to Valuetainment, his entertainment channel that he has, or his media channel. So I think we could count that. Where is that here? Sorry about this. Valuetainment. Where is it? Someone mentioned Valuetainment. Sorry, there we go. Perfect. All right. We got 2, and we're like, what, a minute in? Literally a minute in. Literally exactly a minute in the video.
Capitalism. Most capitalist defenders say that incentive is because of scarcity, and people's ability to get what is necessary pushes them to work harder. I disagree with that. I'd say that some of our hardest workers are single moms working 3 to 4 jobs, and the resources that they're able to acquire compared to those that utilize their workers in order to build profit for their own companies is not equivocal.
So how would you do it? How would you change it?
Yeah, so I think that humans inherently want to be meaningful. They want to contribute to their communities. They want to contribute to society. When you look at depression rates, oftentimes it's people who aren't able to do anything besides laying in their bed and basically barely taking care of themselves. So I think that it's just a human intrinsic value to want to bring value to their community or grander society.
Okay,
so I don't think that it has to be through scarcity alone that scares people into working, if that makes sense.
I worked for scarcity. I think there's levels to it. You have the survival folks who work for survival to pay their bills. Some work for status, some work for freedom, and some work for legacy. The folks that work 3 or 5 jobs, to pay their bills and do what they're doing, if the incentive wasn't there, they wouldn't work 3 to 5 jobs. Some of the guys that build a bigger business that solve a lot of problems.
The incentive there is either I die or I work. That's not really a system that rewards merit. That's a system that pushes people into insecure positions.
Not necessarily. In many cases, we put ourselves in situations as well.
How?
But when we're talking
incentives, are you saying that it's an individual failure for these single mothers that are working 3 to 4 jobs?
For some of them, it is.
Interesting.
For some of them, it is.
I'm glad you bite that bullet because most people are not going to say that it's a moral failure of people that are born into poverty that continue to live out cyclical poverty.
For somebody like me, I came from the single mother system. My mother was a single mother. We had, my parents got a divorce twice. They married each other, they divorced, they remarried each other, divorced again. I came up, we didn't have a lot of choices. I joined the Army, I got at that system, kind of wanted to see what I was going to do for myself. Do I stay in the Army? Do I get out of the Army? I started working in sales. And then the incentive of working harder, eventually I built a good life for myself.
Again, you're totally dismissing the hard work that a lot of these people are putting into for just basic survival. I'd say that mechanics
counts as a bingo
and plumbers and most people.
So bringing himself up as, where is it? Example of himself is why the American dream and capitalism works. I think that counts. I don't know. Maybe I'm going too fast. I knew he'd bring something like that up. So there you go. Another space.
Working blue-collar jobs that are probably watching this video are working tirelessly day after day.
I don't
but yet
disagree.
They still feel insecure positions to where they don't even know if they're going to be able to afford rent in the next 6 months.
So let me ask you.
If most Americans have a $400 to $500 emergency, they can't even afford that with the basic savings that they have. So this is not something that we should celebrate as promises of a system that gives you more if you work harder. We should say that this is something that rewards few. And I'm glad that you're an outlier that's been able to build a lot of success for yourself. I know that you're a multimillionaire. That's fantastic that you have those resources.
But
the thing is that cannot happen for everybody
in
society. It's possible for each individual to do it, but not everybody can be a millionaire. That's guaranteed.
I don't think not everybody can be a billionaire or a millionaire, but I do think people can find ways to use their time to affect the.
Wait, but you think? I want to go back. Did he say that he disagrees with the claim that everyone can't be a millionaire or billionaire? Hold on, I just want to hear that again.
To do it, but not everybody can be a millionaire. That's guaranteed.
I don't think not everybody can be a billionaire or a.
I don't think that not everyone can be a. So he agrees with him?
Millionaire, but I do think people can find ways to use their time.
Because that would be ridiculous to say that everyone could be a millionaire. If everyone became a millionaire, then being a millionaire wouldn't be valuable because then everyone would have that amount of money. You do realize that in order to be rich, people have to be poor? There's no way in which you have an obscene amount of wealth or so much more wealth and have it be valuable if everyone has that amount. Then you're not actually rich. That's why having the existence of billionaires requires people being in poverty. That's how being a billionaire has so much power and brings with it so much status and wealth, because it's such a big difference between those who are at the bottom. See?
Effectively increase their market value, and I don't think many people do that. When I talk to people and they tell me, I've watched this show, I've watched every one of these shows, I've watched every one of these Netflix shows, You can use that time to increase your market value instead of kind of, focus on
Here's
what's
the
going
whole
on with
thing. Of course. Yeah. Gosh, why are poor people watching TV when instead they should just be poor in their kitchen at 4 a.m.? Like what we expect people like, yeah, I get up at the crack of dawn. Like what do you expect people to do? Work like 3, 4, 5 jobs. They're just not, they're just, the problem really is after they spend all of this time working is that, they sit down and they have hobbies and they watch a show to keep themselves sane. God forbid. Like this is just such like bullshit on his part. Like, yeah, the real problem of why a single mom who works 3 jobs isn't able to get ahead is because every like Friday night she tunes into The Bachelor. So, I had no idea what The Bachelor is because I don't know when it airs. But regardless, like really? Keeping up with a TV show is why you think people are in poverty. Like, this is how out of touch he is. It's the same people like, just make coffee at home. Just make coffee at home. Stop watching TV. These things are never going to get us to a place where we have a more equitable distribution of wealth, but that's not the goal. The goal is not a more equitable distribution of wealth. The goal from people like Bet David is to, once, like Mason is pointing out, place the blame onto the individual and then try to sell them the solution that will never work, because then he keeps getting rich off of them thinking that he's going to give them the solution. I'm sorry, he stands to benefit from you never getting the solution, because then you keep coming back to him expecting him to give you the answer. This is what happens with these like pickup artists or these like grifters and opportunists who want your money, like him and Dave Ramsey and people like that. It's never going to work. It's never going to happen. They're never going to give you the solution.
Stories and shows that are out there.
Let's move away from Netflix and TV shows and talk specifically about, do you think that capitalism is a system of merit that rewards people that
Absolutely.
are of higher merit?
I do.
Okay, so how would you say that this
Yeah, 100%. Jeff Bezos is just like 18 billion times, whatever, 100 billion times more valuable than the average person because of how much money. You genuinely think how much money, how much they're worth is an accurate predictor or representation of how valued they are in society? Then that is just that is how capitalism and like just consumerism corrodes the brain. Jeff Bezos is apparently more valuable. The 1% apparently is more valuable in terms of value or in terms of merit than the bottom 50% of the country under this framework. Definitely, yeah, they're just so much. They were, 100 billion times smarter. Definitely nothing to do with how they were born or the circumstances that led them into the situation. It's so merit-based, bro. I swear. I got a small loan of $1 million from my father. It's so merit-based. It's not merit-based, okay? So much of it is a result of luck, is a result of circumstance, and is a result of inheritance. That's just the case. I'm not saying that hard work isn't important, but I'm saying that boiling it down to merit makes it so that people believe that if people are poor, it's their fault. And then people like him play no role, or none of us play any role in trying to solve economic inequality in this country, because if it's the fault of poor people that they're poor, and it's the talent of rich people that they're rich, then yeah, nothing's wrong here. This is just naturally how it's supposed to go. It's just a sports game. Everyone's on a level playing field, and poor people just happen to be worse at the game of life. No, that's fundamentally not how the world works. But he stands to gain from people believing that, because it doesn't threaten his status and position in society.
Meritocracy, when we have some people that are born into excessive wealth and some people that are working minimum wage jobs to provide for 3 or 4 kids. How would you say that that's a meritocratic society?
Those are two different things.
They are two different things, very unequal things.
Well, no, not necessarily. The parents get credit for making responsible decisions so they can take care of their kids.
How do they make responsible decisions?
It's not a meritocracy, though. We're building dynasties of wealth.
Hold on. This doesn't work here for multiple reasons. One, you already admitted that people's position in life is dependent on the quality of their parents. So even if we assume that all parents, mind you, this is an impossible thing to assume because everyone who is a parent had parents. Let's assume somehow that all parents were equal. And, just some parents just voluntarily chose to be deadbeats and spend their money on drugs and go to jail for no reason. They just decided to do it. That would mean their kids are now in a worse position financially, emotionally, socially, educationally, like in every single way, to a point at which it is no longer meritocratic because they don't have that same starting place. So it's not just like, once he brings up parents, he immediately destroys the argument of meritocracy, because he's bringing in one of the very things that makes society unequal, which is that not all of us have the same upbringing, the same quality of parenthood. Why do people not have the same quality of parenthood? Because parents are made by their parents, who are made by their parents. And these inequalities compound on one another. So it's such a bad point on the part of Bet David here. Like, no, he literally he tries to say that capitalism is meritocratic because of parents, yet people don't choose their parents. And if people have shitty parents and it puts them on a shitty path in life, that's not their fault. How is that meritocratic at all when people do not start at the same place at all?
I didn't come from dynasties of wealth.
I know,
came from
you're an outlier.
There we go.
I get that. I get that individual. We're talking
There you
about
go. Outliers. Yeah, this would be like John Williams saying, I don't understand why it's so difficult for people to make millions of dollars composing music. I did it. Yeah, no shit. Not everyone can be John Williams. And the fact that John Williams succeeded in making millions of dollars by composing music doesn't mean that the arts industry is somehow a lucrative business inherently, or composing music is. The same way Bet David getting rich off of, entrepreneurship and building businesses coming from nothing. Like, yeah, there's going to be those people. It does not mean that that is a viable path for everyone. The fact of the matter is his existence it necessitates it not being a viable path. Because if everyone could do what he did, then he wouldn't be valuable because his wealth wouldn't be valuable. Like, you know what I mean? Like, this is the whole point here. He's acting like everyone can do what he does, but it is logically the case, or factually the case, that he would not be in the position he's in if everyone could get to where he's at. Mason is right. There is a necessary level of scarcity in order for rich people to remain rich. You are no longer valuable in society if you don't have more than other people, if you don't have more than them. Like, you know what I mean? What makes people rich is that they have more than other people, and they have more bargaining power, and they have more ability to, spend money on the things that they want and make decisions and have things be done the way that they want because they have the money to do so. If everyone has that money or that ability, then their wealth suddenly becomes meaningless. This is not that hard to understand.
Systems. Capitalism is a system. It's not an individual testimony.
But it's a system that you get to use in your advantage. Or it's a system that's produced the best results than any other economical system.
There we go.
There's not an economical system that's produced better results than this. Based on the incentive.
Hold on. Can we go back here? Capitalism is lifting billions out of poverty. Oh no, that wasn't the one here. What does it say? Capitalism perfect is the best system we have. Do you think that counts? I think that kind of counts. Capitalism it's the best system we have in comparison to everything else. I'll put it down for now. He didn't really say that it's like not perfect. He'll probably at some point say that it's not perfect, but it's the best system. I don't know. I'm counting it for now. If you guys think I'm being too fast and loose with it, let me know in the comments.
History is a march of progress, right? So there are going to be advancements that we make, or there's going to be solutions that we make to previous ailments. I'm not saying that capitalism hasn't brought in better things than systems like feudalism or monarchy, but that does not mean that we're at the end of history. Do you think that capitalism is the final solution, and this is what we're going to last
I think capitalism is the best economical system because it gives an incentive for you to decide how big of a life you want to build. And by the way, the best way to judge it, let me just say this to you, the best way to judge it is in a very simple way. Take all the countries around the world. There's many different economical systems. What has the longest line of people wanting to get in there?
There we go.
It's America. Why is that?
What if
15 million people came here illegally. Millions came here illegally just the last 4 years.
But a lot of that is because of economic scarcity in other countries.
Correct.
Well, one of them, we could talk about one, is American exceptionalism. Which is
okay, cool. 1 second. Yep, there we go. Brought it up. Why are people trying to get in? Here we go. Where was it about? Why do people risk coming their lives to come to America? I think that's kind of the same thing, right? Why is this country so many people trying to get in it if capitalism is so bad? I already talked about why that's a ridiculous talking point. The fact of the matter is the reason that other countries often are so bad is because of U.S. and Western exploitation and colonialism. So that's like destroying someone's house and then you trying to get into their house and then being like, oh, everyone loves my house. There's nothing wrong with my house. Dude, you destroyed their house. No wonder they're trying to get into your house. That doesn't mean your house is perfect, okay? All right. Mason did a great job.
Thank you.
Good job there, Mason. Hold on. I want to go back to that fact check, because I think Bet David did get fact checked there a little bit. Cato Institute, which is very right-wing, actually. Immigration increase under Biden due to unprecedented labor demand and unprecedented access to information about how to get to the United States that is available online. I don't know. I'm a little skeptical of that. People traveled to the United States because there was more information online about how to do it. I mean, I guess so. That's not crazy, but it's kind of a weird thing to be like, God, people just don't know how to immigrate to Mexico from Central America. They just have no idea. What? I don't know. What does the other fact check say? 12.7 million people. I mean, technically, Bet David said 15, and this says 12.7. So, do we count that? Do we count that as PBD gets fact checked? I think that's a little too much. I don't know. We'll wait for another one. I have a feeling he might get fact checked again. So let's see.
Here illegally, just the last 4 years.
A lot of that is because of economic scarcity.
Okay, here we go.
Good to meet you.
Thank you.
All right.
How are you? What's your name?
Hi, I'm Alana. It's nice to meet you. Okay, so I think the issue is the framing of incentive here. Incentive doesn't disappear in a socialist or a communist society. It just changes and evolves. So we see in capitalism the incentive is obviously...
Can I also point something out here? It's really interesting how his claim is not that, is not that capitalism is unique in this. It's actually not even a claim that capitalism is better. It's just saying incentive is necessary to capitalism. And if we don't have incentive, then capitalism fails. It's not that any system fails without incentive. He's not making the stronger claim, which is that other systems don't work because they don't have the same incentive that capitalism has. His claim, literally understood, is just that incentive is necessary to capitalism, and if you don't have incentive, capitalism fails. I guess that anti-capitalists could agree with that and say that that's exactly why we shouldn't have capitalism. People shouldn't need the incentive not to die in order to work. Therefore, that is why capitalism is bad. So a lot of these prompts that Bet David is defending, someone on the left or an anti-capitalist could totally even agree with them and say that yes, and that's why it's bad. Like, so, I don't know. I think it's once again interesting how just fast and loose these prompts are. Or just like, I don't know. Like, they're not super tied to like the necessity of capitalism. Like, if someone from the opposite side can agree with your claim and like you guys still come to completely different conclusions, then you probably don't have a very good prompt.
Monetary game, maybe even collecting capital itself through land ownership. In a communist or a socialist country, you would see incentive would just evolve into, I know it's a vague term, but the common good. You have an incentive to do your chores around your house because you don't want to live in a filthy house, right? That makes sense. It doesn't have to be just monetary.
So you don't think monetary incentive drives people, or you're saying that people should be excited?
It's not what she said. You see, we just strawmanned her immediately. She said that there are other incentives other than just money. He said, oh, so you're saying that money doesn't incentivize people? Strawman, no? You could both believe that money does incentivize people, but that there are other incentives that could also drive society. See? He's being incredibly disingenuous with that question. I hope she calls him out, but for some reason I don't think she's going to
do their job, whether they're getting incentivized for it or not. That's what you're saying.
People will be incentivized to do
Give me a case study. Give me a case study of that worked. Give me one case study.
We don't even need to look at case studies. We can just look at charity work.
Well, why don't we actually look at a case study? You got two countries, North Korea, South Korea. One is communism, and one is capitalism.
Yes.
North Korea's GDP last year was $23 billion.
Are we judging?
Why though? Hold on. Wait, that's so disingenuous. Granted, North Korea fucking sucks. Okay? Once again, I've made videos about this before. The reason that North Korea is bad is not entirely to blame on the fact that they are sanctioned the fuck out of and that no one will do business with them. Is that part of it? Is that a decent portion? Yes. Is that all of it? Abso-fucking-lutely not when you spend all of your money on your nuclear program and not feeding your people. Yeah, maybe that's why your GDP is so fucking low. But part of it definitely is the fact that no one will do business with them because of their horrid human rights violations. So let's be real here. It's not just that North Korea, mind you, North Korea is not socialist. North Korea is not communist. North Korea is just a brutal authoritarian dictatorship independent of economic system, okay? So this sloppy North Korea communist, South Korea capitalist comparison is ludicrous. But claiming that North Korea has a GDP because they're communist, one, they're not, but two, ignoring how sanctioned they are and how blacklisted they are is an incredibly disingenuous argument on multiple levels.
Countries' values based off GDP and not what they value for
freedom of speech. You can't, like,
Oh.
if you lived in North Korea, you wouldn't be able to do what you're doing right now. You wouldn't have a voice. In South Korea, I'm gonna give you stats. In South Korea, Their GDP is $1.7 trillion.
South Korea is also owned by like 5 companies in total in the entire
70
country.
times better
you
than
think
North
that's something
Korea.
if you are employed by the top 5 countries.
Technically, she was fact-checked here because she said like all of it's owned by 5. But I think her point still got across that like a majority of it is the wealth is concentrated. 5 companies have a market cap of what is it, like a third basically of their entire GDP. It's a fair point to make, that wealth is not evenly distributed whatsoever at all. So just saying there's a higher GDP doesn't mean that there's necessarily a higher quality of living if that GDP is concentrated within a few mega conglomerates. So it's a fair point on her part, even if her claim was slightly off. This is why I think like fact checks are important, but at the same time, it doesn't mean she's wrong here, okay? Because non-literal use of language, yeah, they're controlled by like 5 companies. Yeah, if like a third of the GDP is 5 companies, that's a pretty substantial margin, and the point gets across. So, yeah.
You are practically unemployed in these countries.
Do you like to be free?
I'm not going to be free in a country like South Korea where I'm only employed in 5 companies or no job.
Like me? Do you like
Hold on, freedom.
To be free where you can have a strong opinion? Do you like to be free to have
freedom? He's talking so much about freedom. Freedom. Talking about freedom. Okay. Got it right here. Talking about how much he likes freedom. What a surprise.
Be free, but that's why I'm anti-capitalist.
Well, maybe you are.
That is why I'm
anti-capitalist.
Because capitalism removes
Venezuela,
that choice.
Cuba.
There is no real incentive of capitalism because the incentive is.
Oh, you're against capitalism? Why don't you go to this fake socialist or communist country that I've been told is, even though it's not? Here we go. Where is it? There we go. We're so close. How close are we? Oh, this is automatically one. So I feel like this one was kind of there. You know what I mean? Here's the thing. He didn't make that exact claim. He made the claim that innovation is necessary for capitalism, but not that capitalism is necessary for innovation. I feel like he's heavily implying that point. I feel like he's heavily hinting at the fact that without a system of capitalism, there would be no innovation. But he actually hasn't made that claim. He's only made the claim that in order for capitalism to work, there has to be, what is it, ignition? What's the claim here? Oh, sorry, wrong one. Incentive. That's what he's claiming. So I'm going to leave that open for now, but I don't know if he keeps heavily implying that as an implied premise and not just not making it explicit, then we will see where we go from there. Also, what happens if I close this? Does this get smaller? Oh, it moves up. Okay, awesome. Still can't really see that, but I guess that kind of gets rid of that.
When you get into communism, the incentive is for the common good.
I love that. I got an offer for you before we move on. If I were to give you your $2,350, which is the cost to renunciate your citizenship, and I paid you your first class, flight to whatever communist country, and $20,000 to spend the money.
Name me a communist country.
Would you give up your citizenship to go to that country? Whichever communist country you want to go to. Cuba, we can give you Venezuela, we give you North Korea, any one of those you want to go to. Choose any one of them. I'll give you a one-way ticket, and I'll fund it for you if you want to.
There you go.
Thank you. Yes.
Hi.
What's your name?
My name's Hunter. I'm going to be honest, I've never seen your videos before. Even though there is some real value to free enterprise, the profit motive often creates a perverse incentive and worse outcomes in certain situations. For example, healthcare. How much would you pay for a life-saving treatment for yourself or one of your family members?
How much would I pay for it?
Say you have cancer and you have an 80% survival rate with chemotherapy and less than a 10% without it. How much would you pay? Whatever it takes, right?
Sure.
That's a situation of inelastic demand.
Correct.
When the amount that you're willing to pay is not based on the value of the service because your life does not have a finite value. In the US, 66.5% of all bankruptcies are because of medical debt. In most other developed nations, that number is way lower, if not zero. And at the same time, the US does not have one of the best healthcare systems in the world. Right. We pay over $13,000 per capita. Meanwhile, Taiwan, which by most metrics has the best healthcare system and a national healthcare service, only pays about $2,500 per capita per year.
So what does that tell you?
That tells us
that's wasted expenditure.
Yes, that is a massively wasted expenditure.
That tells you the government doesn't know how to spend our money.
No,
they keep raising taxes, we keep more money, and they don't know how to spend the money.
Wait, no, most of that money is coming from private insurance.
Health insurance
in fact, 77% of the people who went bankrupt from medical debt, had
Thank
insurance,
you.
and then lost it because they couldn't pay.
So we
Correct.
can address that, the fact that 60-something% of bankruptcies are due to health, which is your right. We've done many content on that piece. I want you to come back to incentive. Address the
He just doesn't want to address it at all. You know, that's a crazy thing to say there. Be like, yeah, our private insurance industry, which leads to us spending 7 times more than like a country like Taiwan to get much worse benefits. And he's like, the government. Dude, we don't have socialized healthcare. Like, what? This is the best part. They just love to blame failures of capitalism on socialism. See, you know what I mean? Like, ask a socialist or ask someone who's critical of capitalism things they don't like about capitalism, and they'll tell you things they don't like about capitalism. Ask a capitalist what they don't like about socialism or communism, and they quite literally will describe capitalism. It's literally beyond parody at this point.
with incentive right now with capitalism.
The reason why the medical debt is so high in that is because of the profit motive. If people will pay whatever it takes
profit
to
motive.
not die, the profit motive in that case is perverse because healthcare shouldn't be a market in the same way that other things might be a market.
So you don't think the motive to have profit to come out with a solution is a good thing for the marketplace, specifically
I think
in the
it
healthcare
depends on which market you're talking about. It's way different. We're talking about video games or cell phones or TVs or other goods that aren't as necessary as
You're
healthcare
specific to
treatments.
healthcare.
Yes, I'm talking
Okay.
specifically about
So
healthcare
there's
in certain other markets
you
where
ever
there's
heard
a
of Home
natural...
Depot? You ever heard of Home Depot?
Yes, I'm aware.
So one of the guys who's the founders of Home Depot, investors of Home Depot, his name is Ken Langone. His father died at 62 years old. Ken Langone today is roughly 90 years old, give or take. When he died at 62 years old, he tells the story that if there was a simple thing as blood thinners, his father would have lived to be 90 years old just like he is today.
Yes,
Capitalism.
that
That
makes
came
sense.
because of innovation, which he's
Which
been
is-
on for many years. My dad's been on blood thinners
Sure,
for the
but
last 40 years.
How much
I think
research
you're-
grants? How much research grants? This is a really good question for you to look up because I don't have the number off my head, but I know it's a lot. How much does research grants and government funding cover a lot of the research and development in these firms? I don't have the number off the top of my head, unfortunately, but I remember reading this. It is an obscene amount in terms of how much the government is funding this. So the problem is that these companies are trying to justify having all of this profit and charging all of this money in order to get these drugs, because they're like, oh my God, we're just spending so much on research and development to get the top of the line pioneer treatments. No, they're fucking not. They're taking government handouts and government subsidies to fund their research, and then they're taking the money they make and using it for stock buybacks and increasing their shareholder value to pay their CEOs more. So, no. The reason that blood thinners exist, I would have to look more into the exact example, but if it is similar to any of the other pioneering drugs we get, it's because of taxpayer dollars, your money, funding these drug companies who then use that money to research a solution and then patent and profit off of the solution that was government funded. We are literally getting the worst part of the system, okay? Absolutely, government money should be funding healthcare research, but then private companies should then not be able to profit off of our money funding that research. So, no, absolutely not.
You're
to create a
conflating
solution.
two things right now. Not
No, it's
all
about
innovation
incentive. It's
is
about
the result
incentive.
of the market, because many healthcare
Most is,
developments
though.
are created by research
Major-
grants from
Thank you.
healthcare funding, whether it's in the
Thank
United
you.
States or in
Over
other countries. In
2/3
most other first world countries,
Yeah.
the result of medical research developments, which are massively outpacing that in the U.S. now because of our inefficiency, because we have a market-based system for healthcare.
A very basic
most
question
of that
for you.
is because
A very
of
basic question for you.
non-market-based
Economics
systems.
101.
Basic question for you. If that's the case, it keeps going back to the same thing. If it's better in other places than it
Why
is
do
here,
people-
why
why
are
do people
Americans
there?
and others not going there? Why are people coming here?
wow.
It's very basic.
How much does a plane ticket cost?
No, they have the money to go to different places. They don't.
Why do people in Central America come to America and not Europe? Yeah, God forbid that border that we have with fucking India. Yeah, it'd be so easy for them to just go there. Yeah. It also makes sense why people in North Africa try to go to Europe and not America. Proximity, Patrick. Jesus Christ. If we so bad, why people come here? Why do you want to come to my house, even though I burned your house down? Why do you want to come to my house? I thought you don't like me. Why do you want to come here? Jesus Christ.
Because they know America's the greatest country in the world. They know it.
Dick riding.
Appreciate
Nice
you.
to meet you, by the way.
There we go. Bro's got notes.
Luke?
Yes,
Like the
Luke.
hat. Good to meet you.
Oh, thank you very much. Good to meet you too. So I think incentives are exactly the fundamental problem with capitalism.
There we
That
go.
you say incentives are what make it work, and I think that's the whole issue, is that the primary incentives are either greed, amass as much personal wealth as you possibly can.
You think that's the problem? It's greed?
Yeah, exactly. And
Because you're not greedy at all.
And like you said, survival.
Yeah.
Right? So the person, working
So it
5
rewards
jobs,
greed.
that they're doing that so they
Sure.
wouldn't
That's
have
also ridiculous to say, oh, the problem is that it rewards greed. Well, you're greedy. Yeah, even if that were true, then maybe our economic system should not reward the worst of human impulses and behavior. Just saying.
They wouldn't want to do that if they didn't need to survive. But that's such a horrible dystopian world to live in. If someone has to work 5 jobs just to survive.
How did they get there? How much of that is on their decision making?
Oh,
How much
sure.
of that
Oh, my God.
is on their doing? How much of
Yeah,
that is on the
definitely.
market where they're not finding ways to improve themselves?
It
How are
doesn't
they
matter how
supposed
much
to?
onus is on
How are they supposed to? No. Genuinely, whenever someone makes a claim like this, just slow down and backtrack. Fine. Let's look at the average mom who works 3 jobs. How did she get in that situation? Well, let's guess. I'm guessing she doesn't have a college degree. Why? Well, she probably couldn't afford to go to college. Why? Well, she didn't have the resources to do so, and she didn't have the time to do so because she was working 3 fucking jobs. Maybe she has kids, something like that. Oh my God, poor people shouldn't have children. 1, that's ridiculous and classist. But 2, even if we were to say that maybe people who can't afford to have kids shouldn't have them, how do people learn that? Education. Oh wait, she didn't get a good education because her parents didn't teach her that and schools didn't teach her that because they were underfunded? Oh my gosh, that's crazy. So what opportunities are you talking about, Patrick? This is why it's so stupid that you think poor people just choose to be poor and on the flip of a switch, they could just be rich. It's genuinely ludicrous, this idea that these people they just choose. They're just choosing to do that. No, they're not choosing to do that. They literally don't have another option, or they've been siloed, or they've been pushed into a particular position where now they're working 3 jobs or 5 jobs in order to survive, in order to support their family, in order to support themselves, because the other avenues for them to get ahead were not available to them early on because it costs more money to get those things, such as on higher education, or to move, or to get other jobs that they didn't have. You're blaming people for not taking advantages of opportunities they literally just didn't have in a majority of cases.
It's on the market where they're not finding ways to improve themselves.
It doesn't matter how much onus is on the individual. We want to create a world.
Of course it is.
No. See, we want to create a
onus
world
is on
in
you.
which people don't have
Yeah.
to earn their right to exist, to live.
We live in
bad
a
argument to
country
make
where
against it.
majority of the world wants to come here. The most
Why?
important
Why?
citizenship country.
Why? Because we fucking exploited them? Because we fucking exploited the entire fucking world? Because we bombed the Middle East to smithereens and fund drug cartels in Mexico and Central America that then make it unstable and then people come here? Wow, yeah, we really destabilized the whole world and now they want to come to our country because we fucked up everywhere else and now we're just suddenly like, we're so amazing, we're so awesome. No, we fucking suck in a lot of ways. Okay, we destroy other places and then feign this sense of self-importance when people want to come to our country as if it's not out of desperation. It's not a majority of people don't come to this country because they love America. It's because they don't like where they're from because of instability that in many cases was caused by U.S. intervention. This is not that hard to understand. This is genuinely me be like saying, like, imagine, like, I don't know, you had a house and I burned down your house and then you come running to my house and you're in my house, even though my house doesn't have heating in it. So you complain that my house doesn't have heating. And you're like, oh my God, it's still pretty cold here. And like, oh, well, why'd you come in my house then? Well, maybe because you burned down my house and being in a house with no heat is better than being in no house at all. Kind of where we're at right now. Just because other places are worse because we destabilize them doesn't mean that we're the pinnacle and we're amazing and we're awesome and we're beyond criticism. See?
Is America.
Right.
People give up their lives to come here. Have you ever lived in another country before?
No, not lived, no.
Why do you think so many want to come here?
I think the people coming here are coming from gang-ridden, corruption-ridden,
Thank you.
violence-ridden...
You think that's just all it is? You think I came from a gang-ridden in Iran? I lived there 11 years.
I think the majority of people, certainly
is
coming
not.
from South
Most
America...
people come here because what you're doing to me, you're sitting across from me right now.
Right. So
much
Millions of people
freedom.
are going to watch this.
Freedom.
In America, you can call me out. You can say
freedom.
whatever you want.
Oh my God, I'm dick riding freedom so much. Freedom. Freedom. It's so amazing. Shut the fuck up. Oh my God. Oh my god, Jesus Christ. If this dude could literally jerk off freedom, he would. If freedom was a dick, he'd be deep-throating it right now. Oh my god. Oh. Oh, this is fucking painful to watch these people who think the U.S. is the only country who has freedom. Yeah, people are coming here because they want freedom so much, not, to be just, not be, targeted because of gang violence. Definitely, yeah. It's so free. It's just like the freedom. It's when people want to come to America, they're just like yearning for the bald eagle. Jesus Christ.
Nothing's going to happen.
Right.
You're free and safe here,
Sure.
right?
Freedom of speech is
You
nothing to do
can't
with
do that in
capitalism.
Iran. Of course it is. There's a lot of elements
there
with
we go.
America. You're talking incentive. The amount of benefits America offers against
Right.
other countries, it's so much higher. Where somebody with big dreams, incentives,
Right.
they're willing to come and say, I want to come to America, please let me in. And
Right.
some come and take advantage of it. But to say the individual that's working 3 to 5 jobs, if you do that for a season, if you do that for 2 years, if you do that for 5 years, fine. If you do that for 20, 30 years, you're doing something wrong.
But
No,
the
you're
point
not doing
is,
something wrong. The system is designed to perpetuate that because that person working all of those jobs and being in that position is doing necessary labor for the profit of someone else. That person getting ahead and that person not working all of those jobs and making more money is taking more money away from someone who can be skimming money off of the top. Like, what do you not understand about this? Why would they have an incentive to pay them more? The system is perfectly and beautifully designed for people to remain in poverty. Because if they remain in poverty and they make less money, they're still fulfilling these jobs and being overworked and underpaid. And someone else is able to reap the benefits of that, someone richer.
life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, right? Those are the inalienable rights. We shouldn't have to earn those rights. We shouldn't have to earn the right to health
do
care.
have to earn it.
Earn the right. No.
I
because
actually
these are.
shouldn't.
This is just. We just.
He's
wanna-
having the wrong argument with him right now. Like, frankly, like he's nothing against the dude who's debating Bet David right now. He's having the wrong argument. You're appealing to values that someone else does not have. Saying, oh my God, no human is illegal. No one should have to earn their right to exist. You're never gonna, it's the wrong, it's not that I disagree with him. I agree with him, but you have to understand the mindset of the person you're having a debate with. And the mindset of his audience who is not sympathetic to you. Because right now he's coming off as the typical leftist, socialist, communist, just wants handouts, thinks he deserves everything and doesn't have to work. No, challenge him on his premises. Challenge him on his falsehoods. This idea that it is factually the case, or factually not the case, that someone who works 3 or 5 jobs for a long period of time is somehow it's a personal failing on their part. As if, yeah, that definitely makes sense. Yeah, 100%. What should they do? Yeah, they should go to college with all the money they don't have. Okay, they should definitely move with the money they don't have. They should, just eat better food and spend money on things that are more expensive with the money that they don't have. Like that's the type of like rhetoric that needs to be pursued here. Not this whole, oh gosh, you say people need to earn it in order to live, but no one should be able to. The fact of the matter is, it's not just that they shouldn't have to earn it, it's that they can't earn it. It's that the system is designed so that they can't earn it. That's a better argument to be had, because you're never going to win them over on this meta-level conversation about the value of human dignity and work. I'm in line with you, but you have to argue the factual basis that the claims that he's making, even if you accept his value system, are wrong. It is incorrect that someone is able to earn the ability to live if they are born into poverty. Okay? Of course, some people are able to, but the reality is that are a majority of people able to earn the ability to live? No. That's why government subsidies are so heavy. Because if we didn't have government subsidies, people would fucking die. We have barely enough social programs in this country to keep the essential workers afloat to perform the jobs, because we need them to be alive to perform the jobs, but don't want to give them any more money that they would have quality lives. We need them to live to be cogs in the machine, and we don't want to give them any more, because any more would take more money away from the people at the top. They want them just enough to remain alive. And sometimes they don't remain alive. And sometimes they die because we don't want to put more money into our healthcare system. We have just enough there. Okay?
Exist. We can't work our blood, sweat, and tears just to survive. That's a horrible dystopian world that we live in.
It's a bad
Then
world.
what do you think we're here for? To just sit around and play video games?
We're
What do
here-
you think we're here for? To sit around and watch TV shows?
Yeah, we're definitely, our job, definitely. What we're here for, we're definitely to provide a value to our shareholders. That's what we're here. We're here to earn money. Yeah, that's definitely. Call him out on that shit. Call him out. Call him out on how ridiculous. He's saying, he's strawmanning this idea that we should just exist to play video games if you claim that people should not have to earn the right to exist. No, Patrick, you're saying people exist to make money. You worship money. Capitalism worships money. You put profit over people. That's what this is about. Not this whole, oh, you just want free handouts, so you want to play video games. No. You think that if someone gets cancer and they can't afford the treatment, whoop-de-fucking-do. Yeah, sorry. Luck of the draw, but it's so meritocratic. I swear, bro. I swear the meritocracy. It's just around the corner. Okay, you just didn't work hard enough to not get cancer. Jesus Christ.
We're here
to
to
sit and
create,
watch cat
we're
videos.
Here, we
What
are
do you think
here,
we're putting
we
here
are
today
here
is?
to create a prosperous community, to lift
How do you
everyone
create a
up.
prosperous community? How do you create a prosperous community? Matter of fact, for you, how have you positively impacted a community?
I guess volunteering, food banks,
Volunteering
Habitat for
food. I
Humanity.
appreciate you for doing that. Have you created jobs for others?
Hey!
Jobs? No, I wouldn't say
Created
so.
jobs. There we go. One sec. That's one of my options here. Calls them for not getting jobs. Ask someone how many jobs they created. Okay. We're getting there. All right, anything else here? Has he said lifted billions out of poverty? I don't think so. Capitalism, no iPhone. I'm just taking a look here to check. I don't think Mason did that. He's basically saying it's exploitative. I don't know if they're really. We'll chill for now. We're gonna go back here.
I haven't had the ability to do so.
Do you think it's easy or do you think it's hard?
To create jobs is probably hard, yeah.
It's okay, so the people that create jobs, you think they should have a little bit of incentive for having risked their
definitely.
life savings,
Yeah.
spend time away their families to create jobs so somebody like you can work for that company?
Sure,
what's
but
the risk? I hear this all the time. The people who have the business ought to be, reap more of the rewards or incentives. I'm not even saying that's not the case, but the argument as to why they should, because they took more risk. What is the risk they took? This is a really important point. What is the risk that they took by trying to start a business? The business failing and them having to go back to being a laborer, to earning a wage? That's the risk. The risk they took is that if this doesn't work out, they might end up just like their employees. Oh my God, what a terrible existence. You see how ridiculous it is when you put it in those terms? No. So Jeff Bezos should not be making millions of times more than his employees because he took on some risk, and if things didn't work out, he might just actually turn out to be an Amazon warehouse worker. The fact of the matter is, he should really earn billions of times more than an Amazon worker, because the alternative is that he could have been the one in the warehouse. Ridicule these people. Call them out for their bullshit, okay? Don't appeal to some egalitarian value system that they are not, these people don't have souls. They don't have humanity, okay? They don't care whether someone dies because they can't afford cancer treatment. They don't care if someone can't live or can't earn to survive. They think people should have to earn because they can. And other people being guaranteed a living wage or being able to survive is antithetical to their ability to continue to profit off of their exploitation.
The incentive.
And bravo for them, but that does not give them the right to pay themselves $2 million bonuses while their workers are scraping by at like $10 an hour.
You don't get to choose how much money I choose to make. That's not your business. That's my business. If you have 4 girlfriends and I have 1, is it my business to tell you can't have 4 girlfriends?
I think
if you play.
Yeah, well, women are money. Women are money. Yeah, thinly veiled misogyny there, Patrick. Yeah. Oh, yeah, bro, me having millions of dollars is like having millions of women. Really great, yeah. I'd love to know his thoughts on feminism. I'm sure they're really progressive.
7 hours of Fortnite every day,
right?
And I don't play Fortnite at all. Should I tell you you shouldn't be able to play 7 hours of Fortnite a day?
In my view.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Hey, appreciate you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we got Jesus over here. Never mind, it's Xena. I was talking about the dude over there in the chair.
What's your name?
Xena's great.
Xena.
Awesome. So this claim about incentive is one that we see often promoted by capitalism enjoyers, right? And it's this idea that, profit incentives is the only thing that can make humans do things, get up out of bed every day, which has never been the case historically. It's not the case psychologically.
Historically, it's never been the case?
No.
What has been the case?
So we've seen...
What's been the incentive?
The incentive is intrinsic motivation. Passion.
Intrinsic motivation?
Of course. Have you ever heard of intrinsic motivation?
Of course I have. So you think people are going to go just do anything for no incentives?
The incentive is intrinsic, meaning passion.
No. You see, this is why I fucking hate people like him. Okay, because they twist your words and claim that you say things that you don't. He's smuggling in the implicit premise that the only incentive can be money. So when Zena's like intrinsic motivations or intrinsic incentive, he's like, oh, you think people are going to do stuff with no incentives? No, that wasn't the claim, Patrick. The claim was that incentives cause people to do things, and the only incentive is not just money, is not just profit, is not just capital.
So you think people are going to go just do anything for no incentives?
Oh, yeah.
The incentive is intrinsic, meaning passion, interest, and honing your skills.
Whether you get paid or not.
Well, the problem is that we're forcing people to, need to, work to survive.
So what's the alternative? So give me another solution, another economical
May I finish
system.
the talking point?
Yeah, actually, I'm curious.
So the psychological theory of self-determination is widely accepted in psychology. It basically explains that intrinsic motivation and passion is actually what predicts incentive. You're arguing that incentive is integral to profit-driven motivation. That's not true. Extrinsic motivation, at all times, at every single case, is going to, predict less creativity, less motivation, less skill, etc. Intrinsic motivation is what causes things like technological development. Some of the greatest breakthroughs have been from people who are devoted in honing their skill.
So should they get paid for it?
I think that we shouldn't live in a system that privately owns the means of production and forces people in this position.
What college did you go to?
USC.
You went to USC. What did you major in?
Sociology.
Sociology. Who's your hero as a professor? Who's the professor you look up to?
This doesn't seem like a topic that's related to capitalism.
The reason why I asked this question is because somebody convinced you of that. Somebody convinced you that.
No, and here's the thing. This is super revealing. He thinks that a person convinced Xena of her worldview and not the ideas, and not exploration, and not critical thinking, because someone convinced him of his ideas. It wasn't free exploration, it wasn't critical thinking, it wasn't exploration, it was someone. Because this ideology is the ideology of submissiveness and following. And that's what he's trying to do right now. He's trying to convince people. He's trying to tell them why they should believe something, because he thinks that he can convince other people to be convinced the same way that he was. Because it's not ideas that convince people, it's not critical thinking, it's people convincing other people. Okay? So fascinating, he has no idea how someone might change their mind by reading a vast array of literature or engaging with a bunch of ideas and thinking about it. It's just, wow, just one sociology professor just came along and said communism good, and you said, yep, whatever you say, comrade professor. I don't know how I'm going to get through this episode. Jesus Christ.
So psychology and studies convinced me of this fact about the human mind.
But unfortunately, to your claim, results show that the greatest economical system is capitalism that allows people to go above and beyond and solve every single issue out there. An entrepreneur who gets up, who says,
what was your claim again, mister?
I'm going to incentive. The entrepreneur
what about incentive?
Who has an incentive to go out there and build their lives, and you put no monetary incentive. So I'm saying that this incentive
that you're talking about, what predicts the best incentive, the best drive, and the best creativity,
so what do you think about
has
Elon
been proven
Musk?
by psychology.
What do you think about Elon Musk?
Can we respond to my claim?
This is about incentive.
All right, awesome. So you're arguing that incentive is intrinsic and tied to extrinsic motivation. What we find is that the best incentive comes from intrinsic motivation.
This is too academic, Xena. He doesn't give a shit.
Solving an issue is going to build something bigger than somebody else that's not.
Yeah, so someone who has a true passion for this.
Yeah, so
exactly. So profit motivation is not the thing that's driving innovation, right?
Of course
psychology.
It is. Of course
so
it is.
Psychology proves that that's not the case.
If there's not,
he rejects psychology. Xena's great. I like Xena. I think she has a lot of really great ideas, and I think she's awesome. I'm prefacing that by saying that a lot of these people don't understand how to debate the person that they're debating. You're not going to defeat Patrick Bet David with psychology and sociology studies because he doesn't think that sociology and psychology are legitimate fields of study. Okay? He doesn't know how they work. He thinks that the way that sociology works is a professor literally just shakes you until you're a communist. Like, why are we citing studies here? He doesn't give a shit. His followers don't give a shit. You can't cite studies of a field to someone who doesn't think that the studies are legitimate or that the field has any value. Okay? I don't know, like, it really annoys me to see people on the left who are smart, well-meaning, good, just very intelligent people like Xena just not understand how to debate someone. Like, no offense to her, she's doing a fine job. It's not like she's doing a bad job. It's just there are certain better ways to debate someone. You don't debate the universal value of human equality with someone whose profit and existence is dependent on the non-equalness, sorry about the phrasing there, about the inequality of people. Okay? His whole existence is antithetical to the values that you're trying to get him to be sympathetic to. The same way his whole existence is antithetical to the ideas that are professed in psychology that intrinsic motivation is more valuable than extrinsic, because literally his existence is dependent on defending the claim that the extrinsic motivation of profit is the only incentive. Thank you. Like, I don't know. Sorry, guys. We're literally only 18 minutes into the video, and we're only already an hour into this one. This one might be a long one. At least I started it early.
It's not the reason that we have the greatest inventions that we do today.
I don't know if I disagree with the fact that there's a passion behind it. Are you saying people with passion, even if there wasn't the incentive to make as much money as they would make, people would still pursue it even with or without money?
That's what psychology says.
Well, your claims are wrong, because
that's not true.
Whoever your psychology professor is, if you look at data and you find out how America, that's only been around for 249 years, schooled all the other countries that have been around for hundreds, if not thousands of years more, they did better than others because the incentive
because they accumulated
was free market
profit,
capitalism.
right, to 1% of the population and continue to produce on that
not
basis.
Necessarily. It's
right?
not,
we have this. Okay.
It's
so
not necessarily.
Do we want to respond, because you can say that
you've been interrupting the entire time. So if you're saying about the 1% are the problem and they're the only ones that make money.
That's
a lot of
not
people
what I
make
said.
money.
What
You
she
said
said.
profit goes to the 1%.
I'm explaining how it is that America has become the dominant power that it is now, right? What we see is that because we have this engine, right, this desire to accumulate profit, we morally justify things like going into other countries, imperializing them, colonizing them, and extracting their resources, right, to funnel our country, right? Social democracies in the Nordic countries don't do this. So yeah, they might not be the wealthiest power, but they have higher rates of education, literacy, human satisfaction.
One sec, we got capitalism is linked to colonialism. I think that's pretty clear by Xena that she mentioned that. Anything else? We're so close. We're so close. I feel like this is so implied. Can I get myself bingo? I feel like he's big. I don't know if he said those exact words, but I literally think that's what he means. He's just so bad at articulating his ideas that he literally wrote the wrong prompt. He literally wrote a prompt that's like just talking about capitalism. That just incentive is the engine of capitalism. You need incentive in order to have capitalism, and if you don't have incentive, it fails. But the implicit in this, incentive is the engine of capitalism. Incentive is necessary for any system, and therefore remove it, and the system of capitalism, which is the best system because it relies on that incentive, will fail. So I feel like incentive is needed for innovation and competition is basically what he's saying. You need incentive for innovation. Capitalism is the only system that rewards innovation. Ergo, capitalism is needed for innovation. If we want to premise or syllogistically write it out. I don't know. I think I get it. If you disagree with me, bingo! I don't care because I'm a bingo winner and you're not. I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing. We are so not far enough into this video for me to be crashing out. Okay, well, I have bingo. If anyone else has bingo, let me know in the comments. Continue. We'll see how many bingos we get.
Right? So it depends on what we actually value in a society. Do we value well-being or do we value profit accumulation?
Validates your point. If that's the case, people would move to those states. They don't.
This is so
when you
stupid.
judge a great...
This is so stupid. This is so fucking stupid. Oh my god. Yeah, of course. People just choose to come to America instead of Norway because it's just so easy to get from Central America to fucking Norway with that border that we totally share with them. Oh my god. Oh my god. People choosing to go to the country that is the most proximate for them to go to is not indicative that like they are able to get there. Could you also think that like immigration laws could affect this too? How easy it is to get into one country versus another? We definitely don't have an open border, but we don't have the closed, hardcore closed border that a lot of those Nordic countries do. They have very little immigration. Okay, that is just a fact. Okay, so like, yeah, someone from Guatemala is just choosing between the equally, accessible options of the Scandinavian countries and the United States when deciding where to immigrate. It's just such a fair decision on their part. I don't know how they're going to choose.
By the amount of people that come in, you can say the food sucks here.
Yeah,
you
so
can say the
there were
service
millions
sucks
of people
here.
that lived
but
in
everybody's
Germany.
lined up to want to come here. They're not lined up to go into those countries.
There are
They're just used by professionals.
Fucking can't. What do you? Yeah, I'm so sorry that the immigrant from Honduras isn't able to get into Norway. Like what? Oh, okay.
As theories.
There were millions of people that also lived in Germany in the 1920s.
I lived in Germany before as well for 2 years.
Hey, before we
yeah, I know your fact checks that suck. Okay, continue. Continue. Okay.
People out of poverty than any other.
Into it.
My next claim is capitalism has lifted more people out of poverty
Isn't that
than any other
literally one
system.
of my? Hold on. Isn't that literally one
My
of my?
next claim is.
That's one of my bingo things, isn't it? I promise I didn't see the prompts ahead of time. Yep. I feel like that counts, right? Billions out of poverty, more people out of poverty. I feel like more people equals billions, okay? Because we have billions of people. I think so. I'm giving it. There we go.
Capitalism has lifted more people out of poverty than any other system.
Patrick.
How are you?
I'm Gabby.
Gabby?
Yeah,
Good
nice
to meet you.
So I would argue that governments have actually lifted the most people out of poverty. If you look historically, we look at China, for instance, had the most significant poverty reduction in all of human history. They pulled 800 million people out of poverty using state-owned enterprises and state centralized planning. They did work with the capitalist system, but they did it, most of it was done through state-funded infrastructure, education, and contributing to strong literacy programs, redistributing the wealth. I think that my other argument would be that there hasn't been an opportunity for alternative systems like socialism to pull enough people out of poverty. So we look at examples.
There hasn't been?
There hasn't been enough opportunities for them to succeed. And so when
Why
we
do you
say,
think that is?
I think that is partly because of the U.S., and I think because capitalist forces and global market insecurities have sabotaged these attempts to do socialism. So we look at an example in Chile in the 1960s. They elected a democratic socialist, and he proposed literacy reform, wealth redistribution, land reform, and all of that was a threat, obviously, to the United States because McCarthyism was on the rise at the time. And so instead of allowing Allende to have a chance with that, the U.S. Orchestrated a CIA-backed coup to take over and to have a military dictatorship that led the country instead of Allende, who actually was having a lot of success in reducing the poverty rates before the U.S. interfered. And so I think we look at other parts of Latin America, like Venezuela, for instance, and we see the same thing. We see that the U.S. has interfered several times. With Chavez in Venezuela, he was able to reduce the poverty reduction in half in the first decade of him being in office, and he was sabotaged ultimately by the U.S. and by a military dictatorship, so that the people that replaced them were actually
So may I respond?
Successor. There we go. Okay. All right. Chavez did great, but I swear, bro, we need to include here because they're a right-wing organization, that his successor. It's gone more than 90%. Also, considering the fact that during that time, Venezuelan, in terms of the U.S. control over the Venezuelan oil market, has increased drastically. Also want to point something out in terms of the claim that she made about just coups. There's many examples of this. Another one would be the 1953 coup in Iran. 1953 coup in Iran with the Shah. Basically, there was Mohammad Mossadegh, who was brought to power democratically, and he basically nationalized the oil industry, the British Oil Company. Which one was it? British East India? I could be wrong. Basically, he nationalized the oil industry, said that they could no longer be pillaging the Middle East for oil, and that the Iranian people would benefit from it if they were the people who lived in the land. And the U.S. was and the Brits were like, nope. And they completely instituted a CIA-backed coup, overthrew him, and then put in the Shah to rule them for the next years after that. So many examples of these policies being implemented and the U.S. not liking it and stepping in. So, yep, unsurprising.
A lot of different cases here. So
Sure.
thank you for that.
Of
So
course.
let's go China first. Okay, so when you say China was able to recover and because they use state-funded, nationalized systems. So in 1978, Xiaoping, the leader of China, went to Japan. He saw what was going on with Japan for 2 decades. Every year, their GDP was growing by 15%. The economy was doubling pretty much every 4 years.
Sure.
They go over there, they say, we got to find a way to compete with Japan. How do they have fewer people, but they're beating us? They sit down with their leaders after a few drinks. Eventually, they say, how did you fix your economy to be growing the way that it is? A capitalistic society that they had in Japan. They asked the question from Xiaoping, the Prime Minister Fukuda, asked the question, how many banks do you guys have in China? He says, we have 1 bank. He said, it's a nationalized bank? He says, yeah. That's it? Yeah. How many loan officers do you have? Not many. You want to compete with 1 bank? Yes. He says, if you want to compete with us or others, here's what you have to do. You need 5,000 banks with 35 branches, with 30 loan officers. That's a total of 5.25 million loan officers and a population of 600 million people that are living there. You do that every week. You take 10 applications with these loan officers for small business owners, and you allow the small business owner to compete. They did that. China started competing. By the way, in America in the 1920s, we had around 30,000 banks when we were really, competing in a marketplace. In the 80s, we ended up having around 14,000. Today, we only have 4,100 banks in America.
Why? Hold on. Why, though? Why are the banks so concentrated now? Like, he's acting like he's just going to sweep it under the rug. Yeah, the concentration of wealth under capitalism literally led to there being mega conglomerate banks instead of having all of these small banks that you're talking about. You want to talk about having like a bunch of banks? Fine. Have like everyone have their own bank. Let's do that, right? Everyone's the owner of their own wealth. We don't even need banks, right? Just everyone. So more banks equals the better, right? Because we just have so many banks in Japan versus China. I'm not advocating a centralized bank. That's what you're gonna think that's gonna necessarily be the case, but no, absolutely not. We can have a lot of different people who have access to wealth and it not all be centralized into one place, and also not have just banks with loan officers performing the duty that otherwise the state would perform in criminalizing poor people. Like, I don't know.
That concept of allowing just 1 bank to compete, it's not going to work. China takes on the idea from Japan.
If I can interrupt you, I think that
they start growing with certain capitalistic philosophies.
I think you're thinking about this in very capitalist terms, which makes sense. You're a capitalist, but
because it works. That's the idea. Because it's produced the results.
You're only thinking about these scenarios in a situation where market mechanisms are in place, and this is the problem that I have with so many capitalists: is they can't exit their worldview and try to see a world where socialism could be in place because they don't understand the untapped potential of socialism. And
he's never going to understand that. Once again, wrong debate tactic. You're debating someone whose literal existence is predicated on not deviating from the mindset that he has. You can't argue your socialist utopia. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm probably more sympathetic to you than I am to him, unquestionably so. You have to argue why his system literally is incoherent, how it leads to conclusions that he himself doesn't even advocate for or say exists, in terms of meritocracy, the ludicrous claim that people have a level playing field and that rich people are responsible for their success and that poor people are just, it's their responsibility that they're poor. Like, things like that. Just, are you kidding me? Fine, yeah, a single mom who, is working 3 jobs, it's really just her fault that she isn't using all of the extra hours in the day that she has because she's working 3 jobs and also raising kids and also, having so many other responsibilities and getting groceries and doing all, like you see, walk them down the path. Walk them down the path of how reductive and stupid their worldview is instead of advocating yours. You don't have to advocate for socialism here. Okay, this is anti-capitalist. What you're doing is you're allowing him to set the terms of the debate and then criticize your worldview. No, this debate is literally framed as capitalist. The burden of proof is on him to prove why capitalism is good, not you to prove why your system is better. So grill him on his. The burden is on him. He's not fulfilled that burden. His worldview is full of contradictions. He's saying things that are blatantly false. Focus on that. Don't allow yourself to be put on the defensive and you making the assertion. Let him continue to make them and just shoot these ideas down like fish in a barrel, because that's how easy it is to dispute these ideas.
I'm a democratic socialist. I think that we need to build forward towards that with reforms, and I think we need to work with the government. I don't think that we should abandon the state. I also don't think that we should give state elites the complete control over society. I do think that we should work with the state to instill these reforms and then eventually erode capitalism.
But unfortunately, socialism has had hundreds of
But
years
you're thinking in terms of
to
competition.
produce results, and it hasn't worked. Do you know why it doesn't work, though?
It's been sabotaged.
It's been sabotaged,
Yes.
or it's because it forces people to do something they don't want to do?
Does capitalism not do the same?
No, capitalism gives
there's
you
7 million people in this
capitalism
country
allows
who have
you
to
to
work
choose.
multiple jobs just to get by.
I have to work multiple jobs
They're
for a season.
forced to do
Yeah.
that because either they do that or they starve.
they don't.
So if the options are to work or to starve,
But
that's
they-
not
but
freedom,
they-
that's economic coercion.
If you do, respectfully, if you do that for a period of your life, I understand it. If you're doing that for 30 years,
That's
you're
the
doing
goal.
something
You're
wrong.
not doing
you shouldn't be
something wrong.
working multiple
Hold on, here we go. Can we put this down as a thing? Wisdom or inspirational quotes. I feel like that counts. You said it multiple times. If you work multiple jobs for a few years, that's fine. If you do it your whole life, you're doing something wrong. Sounds like wisdom. Sounds like an inspirational quote to me. That's all I'm saying. I'm putting it down. I think it counts. It's ludicrous. Yeah, the single mother who's in poverty, just raising her children. She's doing something wrong if she's still, in poverty, always having to work jobs for years on end, because she should just, with all this free time she has, she should be just, increasing her market value by going to school with the money that she doesn't have, and definitely buying Bet David's book and his courses. That's what she should definitely be doing. Yeah.
for the rest of your life.
So, first of all, I'm not going to argue with this moral argument. I think that people who live in poverty, especially when we look at how many people live in poverty in this country, and also it depends on how you define the poverty line, but there's 40 million Americans who live below the poverty line in this country. There's 3 guys in this country that own 40% of the wealth. How does that work in a country that is
You really
built
want to go
on-
there? You want
Sure.
to go there? Okay, so let's
Yeah.
talk about it. So when we talk about the rich people at the top,
Yeah.
okay, and you say, well, the rich don't pay enough taxes. You know
Didn't say
what
that.
the bottom 50% of taxpayers in America pay towards the revenue that the government gets in
I'm
taxes?
sure it's going to be very
do you know,
little.
do you know what the bottom 50%
Yeah, give it.
pays?
Here we go.
Tell me.
2% of
Marginal
taxes.
utility. Yeah,
Do you know
as
what the
they
top
should.
1% pays?
Oh, and what is
There's
it
been
as a
several
percentage?
years
Do you
that
know what the
they've
top
paid
1%?
nothing.
Do you know
They've
what
paid
it-
nothing
No,
in
no,
their
hold on a
taxes.
second. This
I
is from the IRS.
Or is
I'm
it
not
30?
writing a
I don't-
blog
I
from
don't know.
Huffington
Sure.
Post. This is not Daily Beast. I'm telling you the story. The top
I'll say
1%
this.
pays 42%
I'll say this: the
of
top
all
1%
tax
is
revenue.
about to pay a lot
Hold on.
less in taxes because of the provision
They'll
that just went
actually
into.
Hold on. No, this is a stupid argument. No shit. The top 1% pays 42% of taxes, considering they control 90% of the wealth. No shit they pay 42% of the taxes when they control over 90% of the wealth. This is not that hard to understand, okay? What he also doesn't understand is the concept of diminishing marginal utility, okay? Each additional dollar that a rich person has is not as valuable to them as the dollars for poor people. This is the whole reason why a flat tax is such a terrible idea, or a regressive tax, having people say this, pay the same percentage of their income. If someone who is making $30 million a year has to pay a flat 3% tax of $3 million, that's going to hurt them a lot less than someone who's making $30,000 a year who has to pay $3,000. $3,000 to someone who's making $30,000 is much more important to them and affects their life a lot more than someone who makes $30 million having to pay $3 million in taxes. So yeah, the rich should be paying that much. They should be paying even more. During the FDR time period, the rich had a corporate tax rate of over 90%. Above, I believe, a certain threshold. I don't remember the exact number. Yeah, they should be paying that much money. This whole idea of, oh my God, they're paying such a disproportionate amount. Yeah, it's not disproportionate a fucking enough, considering how disproportionate the wealth is. When you have a disproportionate amount of wealth, you should be paying a disproportionate amount in taxes. And I would argue that the disproportionateness, if that's a word, of the taxes you pay should be in line with the disproportionate amount of wealth that you have. Fair enough.
Paying
Trump's,
even
your
more
guys'
revenue to the
big,
government.
beautiful bill.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. That was fast.
I'm Anne.
Anne, good to meet you.
Nice to meet you. So I do want to address part of the claim about poverty, but I also want to address what you brought up about like paying taxes. You said the top 1% pays a large amount of taxes. The problem is that the bottom 2 quintiles can't pay taxes because they quite literally have no wealth.
Yeah.
Do you understand that? Like the bottom quintile of the United States doesn't have any wealth. In fact, they're in debt, so they have literally like negative wealth.
Why do you think that is?
I think that's for a lot of reasons. I think that's because workers have been exploited. I think that they haven't had the opportunity to gain social mobility.
Why do you think that is?
Because of exploitation.
You think they're being exploited?
Yes.
Oh, so people are being forced to work at companies. They don't have a choice.
I didn't say that they were
so people are being...
they are...
Work or die, Patrick. Gosh. Yeah, you're not really being forced to work at McDonald's because you could really work at Burger King or White Castle or Wendy's. So are you really forced to work when you could work any shitty low-wage job that doesn't provide the material needs you need to survive? Yeah. Checkmate. Checkmate, commie.
Are being forced if the other option is starve or die.
What job do you have right now? What do you do for a living?
I do work from home stuff. I don't want to disclose that.
So you chose to do that, right? That's your choice. Great. If somebody works at Starbucks as a barista, it's their choice. If somebody has a job that they're working, it's their choice. If somebody is not utilizing their time properly and accordingly, of course the market's not going to pay you.
How the fuck is the single mother of 3 not utilizing her time properly when she's working 80 hours a week? What the fuck are we doing? We've lost the plot, folks.
Somebody is not utilizing their time properly and accordingly, of course the market's not
moms
going to
are
pay you.
wasting so much time
they brought up
watching.
single mothers earlier. Do you think that single mothers are sitting around playing Fortnite 15 hours a day?
Unfortunately, single mothers were manipulated on what happened.
Is that a yes or no?
Single mothers were manipulated by
They're
what
leeches.
Lyndon Johnson came out
Great
with. They
Society
changed
Act.
the benefits on
Here we
giving
go.
single mothers the incentive
Oh.
to have kids on all the welfare
I'm
program.
sure.
That changed our
Here
system
we
in a
go.
major way.
Yeah,
the
this
feminist
fucking-
movement got single mothers
Oh.
to believe they don't need men and they're going to do everything by
Feminism.
themselves and they don't need a man to help them out. This division that's happened between us caused many people to be in the situation that they're
most
at.
households are 50-50. They're closer to 50-50
Not
today, so that has nothing to do with feminism.
Not
Feminism
necessarily.
didn't just like convince women because they're too stupid to think for
Feminism
themselves.
was one of the worst things that happened in America because it pinned men
Wait.
against women.
Do you think that women are so stupid that they've been
I don't.
brainwashed? Okay, so you don't think that they've just fallen into this feminist propaganda? You don't think they're idiots?
No, I don't think that. But I do think people can be manipulated
but they're
and
not
brainwashed.
stupid enough to do that because the majority of people are splitting
there are so
nearly
many
towards
people that bought
50-50.
into a philosophy that stole decades away from their lives. Decades away from their lives because they bought into an idea that didn't produce the results.
What
are you talking about?
Thank you.
I'm talking about capitalism is the best economical system that provides the best results for people.
But we can't just jump back and forth between claim to claim to claim. So the claim about feminism brainwashing people into being single mothers, how does that
I
work?
didn't. I said feminists originally.
Oh, guys. Okay, it wasn't feminism. It was just feminist. The fact that they were feminist is irrelevant to my point because as soon as you try to talk about the ideology being the cause, my claim falls apart. So really, me describing them as feminist was just a pejorative way for me to, slap feminism and just take a subtle dig against it. But as soon as you pressure me on that claim, I immediately crumble because it has no bearing to the argument. And I just wanted to get a little cheap dig at it for my audience. Jesus Christ.
Brainwashed women to believe men are the enemy.
Oh, yeah.
That led to where we are today. Last week report came
single
in.
Mothers?
How the fuck?
Yes, in many cases because they don't need men.
Do you have evidence?
You think most single mothers are single and in poverty because feminism convinced them that they don't need a man, so somehow they got pregnant without a man and then left them? Or not leave them, or just didn't have a man? Or are you convinced that these mothers or these women had children with men, were consuming all of this feminist propaganda and all this free time they have, apparently, that you think they have while they work 3 jobs, and, are not able to survive and, are figuring out how to get their, finances in order to not, be able to afford rent at the end of the month. All this free time they have, they're watching their feminist literature or reading their feminist literature, watching all this feminist propaganda, and they just decided to leave their husbands with children. You see how delusional this worldview is? Like really? Yeah, the reason we... So I just love, just seeing how fucking delusional these people are. Yeah, the reason that we have a single motherhood problem is because feminism has convinced mothers who already have children and are married to a man to leave their husbands because of feminism. Oh my god, I wish I could laugh at this genuinely as if this isn't just corrosive to our society that people believe this shit. Oh my god.
For that, you really think a single mother wants to be a single mother?
Absolutely, we have evidence of that.
You think the single mother making minimum wage down the road, like working for some grocery store, having to take care of all of her children, is just like, I just don't need a man. I just want to be independent.
What percentage?
I'll live in abject poverty and be independent.
What percentage of the U.S. revenue that we get in you think we use for entitlement programs? What percentage?
A large portion for Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security, because it's keeping 2/3 of elderly people afloat and ensuring that more people don't starve. That's not indicative of the system of capitalism being great. It's indicative of the guardrails we need in place to ensure we literally don't have more people starving, okay? We have the bare minimum social programs necessary to ensure that the working class is able to continue to perform the functions necessary to maintain society and nothing more, okay? That's why our social spending is so big, because it has to offset the exploitation of wages that these people are not receiving. So the government has to make that up on the back end with taxation. Jesus Christ. Okay, he definitely fulfilled this. Okay, the whole, what is it? Poor people leeching off welfare or something similar. Thank you. Another bingo! I feel like I should have like some celebration music. Double bingo. Okay.
I don't remember the exact
What do you think the
percentage.
number is? So we bring in $4.9 trillion.
But it's far less than what we do in private spending.
We bring $4.9 trillion in. Okay, the U.S. revenue comes in.
Medicare, Medicaid,
what
Social
percentage
Security,
do you think goes to entitlement programs?
He's calling entitlement, he means like literally the money that seniors get that they paid into in order to have a comfortable retirement. That's what he's talking about. He's talking about the money that, you know, people who live at or below the poverty line get to ensure that they literally are not dying, even though a lot of them still do. That's what he means by entitlement. Oh God, yeah, I'm just so entitled because I think that children should get school lunch. Those entitled fucking middle schoolers. Oh my God.
What do you think is a reasonable number?
Well, what you're calling entitlement programs, I'm actually not sure what you mean by that.
Yeah, I'm talking about Medicare, Social Security. Medicaid. I'm talking about
social
Section
welfare.
8. I'm talking about any of these.
It's much less than other OECD countries.
What percentage do you think
I don't
it is?
remember the exact percentage.
Give
but
the
it's
number.
Much less than other OECD.
Give the number, you fucking, like, I don't know, snake? Oh my God, I'm gonna grill you on the fact that I know this one statistic that I looked up that you don't know, so I'm just gonna keep being like, you don't know the exact percentage that we spend on Social Security. Ah, checkmate, commie.
Countries.
You think it's 10%,
behind.
20%, 30%? What do you think the number is?
No, but it's relatively low compared to other OECD countries.
Oh my God, say what it is, motherfucker.
68%.
Yeah, 70%.
How much more entitlement?
68%. Can we fact check that?
You can fact check that.
Okay.
Please do so.
Please.
68% goes to entitlement programs.
Of our federal budget?
No, of the revenue that comes in, 68%.
So the capita GDP.
Not GDP. You're confusing the two different things here. Actual tax revenue that we get.
Okay, so tax revenue.
68% of it goes towards entitlement programs. 68%.
60%. Can we just, I don't know. Can we say Bet David got fact checked? He's like 10% off. I guess to be consistent, I should keep it. His point is that we spend a lot on entitlement programs, not the exact number. Or not entitlement. I'm not even, don't let him destroy my lingo here. No. On social welfare programs to ensure that people are able to eat and survive and have food stamps. The reason our social welfare programs are so big is because our economic system is so bad. Okay? Like, this is you want less social welfare programs, have things like a $15 minimum wage so that Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid don't have to make that up on the back end. Okay? We already having to spend this money. Okay?
Thank you.
And good job. Girl from the intro.
How are you?
Good.
Grace?
Yes, Grace.
Good to meet you.
Hi. I want to say that I think it's pretty comical that an elite such as yourself has the goal to tell us average Americans who's in poverty and who's not. A lot of times,
I was an average American. I was a guy that was in poverty.
You're not anymore.
And you can also change. You can also change.
Anyways,
do you believe
you're
you
talking
can change?
down. A lot of times that the market for poverty is actually very low. So
Does that count here? Heartless or a greedy millionaire? I feel like that's like the same. Maybe I'm being once again too high and dry. Also, this is 100% capitalism is exploitative. That definitely got called out here. Heartless, greedy millionaire. I feel that's what she's saying. You're out of touch elite. I'll put a clause in here that says something similar. So I'm gonna add that. Triple bingo. Okay. Sorry, folks. I'm like off the rail. We're not even halfway through this video. Oh my god. We're like a quarter. We're less than a quarter of the way through this video, and I've been filming for over an hour and a half. All right, folks. Stick with me. This could be a long one.
Times like $2 a day is the line for how they measure poverty.
$2.15, yeah.
And that's ridiculous. So if I make $5 a day, I'm not in poverty.
But that's because
I can
the
actually
world,
live. I can pay the rent.
Sure.
But we're talking about this country, right? We're not talking about around the world. I've noticed that you like to do that. You like to like skirt from America and talk about other countries
to
try to make it look like we're better, but we're actually getting
America's the greatest
worse.
country in the world.
Anyways, it's the greatest country.
Hands down. It's not
we
even
are
close.
at the highest that we've ever been with homelessness since we started collecting
Why is
data.
that? Are you from California?
Because we haven't had a pay raise since 2009.
Do you live
Our
here?
minimum wage nationally is $7.25.
Okay.
And you wonder why we have the highest poverty rate. You think that capitalism's winning? Can you survive? Would you like to live off $7.25
I used
an
to
hour?
work for $4.25 at Haagen-Dazs.
Right.
Then I
and
went
that was
and
a
worked
very
at
different time.
Burger King for $4.75.
And how much do you make
Then
now?
I make millions today. Then
Right,
I
and
worked
that's
at
why
Bob's
you like
Big
capitalism,
Boy.
because we're not all making
but
that.
But
And
the
that's my
difference
point.
is, but
A
the
millionaire
difference
count as a
is
laughing?
critiquing
One
the
second.
people in poverty and saying,
One second. Can we go back? Does
Not
that
all
count as a
making
circle
that.
laughing?
That's my point.
But
A
the difference
millionaire is
between
critiquing the people in poverty and saying,
Sorry,
then I make millions today. Then
right,
I
and
worked
that's
at
why
Bob's
you like
Big Boy.
capitalism, because we're not all making that.
But that count? I don't know. Circle laughs at something he says. Yeah, we'll hold out for now. That was maybe one person, not like multiple, and they didn't show him. So yeah. All right, I won't be.
But the difference
is
between
critiquing the people in poverty and saying you should work harder. You should work. You know, you can be me. We can't all be you.
My hope is that you believe you can change and improve.
Yeah.
That you believe you can upgrade yourself. That's my
It's
belief.
very, you know what? That's what rich people like you want to keep telling us.
But
you can be just like me. Do you want to be like me? If you work hard enough,
I'm not
you can
saying
be like
that.
me.
I
It's
don't.
not very realistic.
It's actually you wouldn't be able to be like me because you wouldn't work that hard. Would you work that hard?
You don't. I'm not going to tell you. I don't have to answer that.
If you don't
I don't
choose
have to measure my.
Yeah,
I don't have to measure my work
Yeah,
ethic.
it's definitely. Yeah, it's so ludicrous to think that like, what is it? Value or like monetary value. Why can't I say the word for money? That money and wages matches labor and how hard you work. You realize it has to mean that you think that Jeff Bezos works millions upon millions of times harder than you. You can even think he works harder. He doesn't. But even if you think he works so much, he does not work millions of times harder. And that's what would have to exist in order to believe that the money you accumulate is directly proportional to how hard you work. No. Ridiculous.
Be worthy.
You don't have to. Then you can't be upset for others who do so. You can't
be
upset
for people who are struggling.
No, because they work harder than you.
And that's what's wrong with capitalism.
No, they don't.
Because
But
you
go back to the
that
homelessness.
You have to work so hard.
Do you live in the state of California?
I do.
Okay, you said homelessness.
Yes.
What do you think about your Governor Newsom? What do you think about him?
I don't like him. I'm a progressive. He doesn't do enough for the people.
Do you know when he
takes corporate money.
Fantastic.
He takes money from people like
when
you.
He was,
he's not
I've never given him money. But do you know when he first became a governor,
surprise, but a
I
lot
would
of people
never
like
give
you
him
have.
money. But when he became a governor first, from then till today, he's raised the amount of homelessness in this state by 36,000 people.
Okay, you know, I don't like the guy, but he's not at fault for homelessness. People like you are. Billionaires like you are the problem.
Gave him $24 billion. Taxpayers
I believe it.
gave
I don't
him
like that guy.
$24 billion, and he didn't do nothing with it.
Vote
It
him
increased.
out. Vote him out.
You
He's
vote
just
him
like
out. You have him. It's not that.
That's what I'm saying. I'm not here to defend Newsom.
You can
but
go.
But you're not much different than him. That's all I'm saying. You're in the same class.
But you're sitting here blaming a person who's changed their lives for the better, and it's their fault. My dad was.
This is not the United States of Patrick Bet-David.
Do you know
this
where?
This is the United States of America.
I know, and I'm so
all
grateful to be here. I'm so grateful to be here.
But are you willing to pay more taxes so that other people don't suffer? Are you willing to pay more taxes so other people don't suffer? I am so grateful to be here. I see you're skirting the question.
I'm so grateful to be here. Are you willing to pay more taxes? I am so grateful for the opportunity to be here today. You want to pay more? I am so grateful.
You're not willing.
My dad was a cashier in Inglewood at a 99-cent store.
That's
we
great.
had nothing. No, I don't tell you that's great. We had nothing. I'm the guy that had I'm the guy that had a
propaganda that you guys. You can be like me.
But what you don't want to hear is that because it's the truth.
Can
I ask you a question?
Be like you.
When's the last time you read a business book? When's the last time you read a self-help book?
I don't need to answer that.
When's the last time you read a self-help?
I wrote a self-help book. I'm a writer. I'm a creative.
Tell me what self-help book you read.
I'm not.
Give me
I don't
one.
Need to.
Give me one you read. Are you willing to take one recommendation?
No.
You're not.
Not for me.
Then I can't help you.
That's okay. I don't need your help. I didn't come here for your
great.
help. I
You've
came
been
here to
flagged
debate
out.
you. Good.
Awesome.
Rap bro.
What's your name?
Armin.
Armin?
Yep, Armin Crow. When you said capitalism is the best form of economic organization the world has ever seen, it made me think of a very particular picture from history. So I don't know if you know this, is a little history lesson. In 1900, King Leopold II of Belgium determined that the entire land of the Democratic Republic of the Congo was his personal property. And within 10 years, capitalists came out, they exploited all the land, extracted trillions of dollars of resources. 15 million Congolese died. For reference, the Holocaust killed 6 million people. And the most famous picture from that time in history is a rubber worker staring at the disembodied hands of his 8-year-old daughter because he didn't hit his rubber quota. I'm willing to bet that man worked harder to hit that rubber quota than anything you've ever worked for in your entire life. And I think when you say this is the best system that's ever been created, to me, that's the result. That's what happens when there's no rules.
It's devastating when you hear stories like that. I don't disagree with you. They had it hard. They worked very hard.
Did they work harder than you?
And they had risk on.
Why do you have more money than them? It's a direct result of hard work, right? Whoever works harder has the most money. Therefore, those Congolese who are being worked literally to death much harder than him, they must have had more money, right? Obviously not, because hard work and how hard you work is not a reflection of how much money you make. It's really simple.
The line. Many times it was their lives that was on the line.
Correct.
And you see that in many different places when you go back and study history. That's why today in America, that can't happen. In America, you have a choice to do what you want to do with your life. When we go back and look at those stories, we can go to see what communism did. How many lives were killed because of communism control? You don't need to go through that number. You hear the numbers between 60 to 100 million. We can go that route. But if you're talking about which provided the best economical system today,
these are the same motherfuckers who call Hitler a socialist because the National Socialists were the Nazis. That's what they say. Oh my God, socialist in the name. Yeah, all right. Urinal cake is a cake. Dig in, bro. Like, Jesus.
Judge it by how many want to go live somewhere that gives you that opportunity, and that is America.
Do you know why kids can't work in America?
Why kids can't work in America?
Yeah, why there's child labor laws.
Yeah, because of child labor laws.
It was labor unions. They were...
Why are there child labor laws? Yeah, because there's child labor laws.
Getting shot at by police officers to fight for the weekend, to fight for the 40-hour work week. Another good example is the 1908 mill children strike. It was thousands of kids who were working 80-hour work weeks striking so they would only have to work 50 a week. That's what happens when there's no rules, right? And then the government had to come in and say, you can't employ children. So I think capitalism
We don't
itself,
disagree here with that. I don't think we're sitting here talking about child labor. Are you hearing me talking about capitalism is the best system because it provides child labor in America?
I'm saying that capitalism, there's no guardrails inherently. The government has to come in. People have to go and organize. And I think what you've seen for the past 50 years under neoliberal politics is that's slowly being chipped away. All of the good things of the New Deal, like Social Security, the 40-hour work week.
I do think you need law and order, but also at times, you know, the amount of rules you put in place can prevent incentives. Right now, if you think about drones, warfare is changing, okay? And 70 to 80% of all drones that are being built today are being built by a company called DJI in China. Ukraine was building 1,000 drones a day at $500 and going and hitting $5 million equipment of Russia, destroying them. 68% of their attacks was from drones. When you come to America, look at us. We're at 1 to 2% at the top. Let me explain my point to you here. Part of it is overregulation. Overregulation, FAA laws, this laws, that law. So 500 stars.
The fucking FAA laws. Oh, it's so bad that we have FAA laws. Bro, I swear we just have like no FAA restrictions. That's gonna be great. Despite the fact that Trump literally fired, like, and Elon Musk fired like FAA workers, and then we literally saw a plane and a helicopter collide in midair. Wow, who would have thought firing air traffic control workers and weakening FAA regulations leads to stuff like that? No, bro, I swear we just have less regulation, bro. And then I swear we're not gonna have child labor if we just have less regulation. I swear, all we need less rules. Okay, the employers are just gonna, out of the kindness of their heart, not work people on Labor Day and not work people over 40 hours without paying them more. Out of the goodness of their heart, they're to live in the delusion.
That got into the drone business, they walked away because it's over regulation. Many cases, when you say, I want to put this rule in place, great, another person, no, I want to go this much. No, I want to go this much. No, I want to go this much. It eventually gets to the point that it chokes the innovator, and that's also not good.
I would disagree. I think regulation is the reason why there's no lead in our gas. You were talking about incentives. The only incentive that really matters to a good capitalist is profit. It is profitable to put lead in the gas, and it doesn't matter if it lowers the IQs of kids living nearby by 15 points.
Unfortunately, someone's convinced you at a young age that these capitalists are bad.
Here we go. Problem.
People.
No. Here's the problem. Once again, he's always framing this through the mindset of someone has taught you. Not examining history has taught me. Reading has taught me. Critically thinking has taught me. It has to be someone else. Because critical thinking is foreign to these people. To these people, how they get ideas is someone telling them an idea, and then they just absorb it. Yeah, no critical thinking. That's just accept it. You don't need to think more about it. Just do. Here we go. So this is the problem. This is when these people reveal their style of thinking and how they come to the conclusions they do. He hasn't come to the conclusions that he has because of critical thinking, reflection, education, examining history. He's done it because someone convinced him. So the reason that the other person must have a different idea, according to him, is because someone convinced him. Not that he had an open mind, did some education, and realized that when you allow companies to put lead in gas and lead in the pipes, we have Flint, Michigan, where it lowers the IQs of kids because it gives them lead poisoning in the brains. No. Someone must have convinced you of that. No, motherfucker. Literally just looking at history and what happened convinced me of that. Seeing that 2 + 2 = 4 convinced me of that. The proof is in the pudding.
Then why were they fighting against taking lead out of their gas?
Think about it this way. The main thing, I don't know if you know Michael Burry. Have you ever seen the movie Big Short?
Yeah.
At the end of the movie where it says Michael Burry now is focused on water because he thinks water is the future gold or whatever he calls it, right? Sure. Okay. Go to the company that's Coca-Cola, that sells Coke. And how much criticism have you had over the years with Coke, right?
I think Nestle's had a lot of criticism because they don't think water is a human right for the...
That's a different conversation. If I may finish the point, one thing with Coca-Cola is the following. Do you know even Coke got to a point that they realized in order for Coca-Cola to be around 50 years from now, 100 years from now, they went and invested billions of dollars to fix the water issue around the world. They're trying to get cleaner water. Capitalists...
Because it benefits their profits. If you do, dead people can't buy Coke. These people are. I wish it was funny. Instead of deeply sad and disheartening.
Eventually get forced to take care of the person because having lead in the water is just not a good policy long term.
Okay.
Surrounded is now a part of the
Thanks, John. Don't have time.
My next claim is if all the money in the world were divided equally, it would return to the same pockets within 5 years.
That's the most idiotic claim I've ever heard. Yeah, no shit. This is why people like him don't understand systemic reform. We're not advocating wealth distribution only, that we just give people money and it's just going to automatically work. No, it's structural change in who owns the system, who owns the means of production, who owns how society is run. Of course, in our current society, if you divide wealth up like that, it will go to the same places because that's how the system of capitalism is designed. Okay? Socialism is not just when the government gives people money or we give people more money. It controls who has access to how the money is made, not just the money itself. So this claim is literally just proving his lack of understanding of what socialism is or communism is or how these systems even work. No shit. It's the same argument as last week when the dude was like, bro, you really think reparations, giving like $50K to a drug dealer in Compton is going to improve people's lives? No, of course. And money circulates within lower income communities much faster because they have to spend that money and they can't store it in an offshore bank like this motherfucker. Oh, this is painful. I don't even disagree with that. Of course it would.
What's your name?
Caleb.
Caleb.
Yeah, so you just said that you are proposing if we divided all the wealth equally in like 5 years. How would you propose we divide the wealth in that way? In
This is a wrong question. Oh my god. It's the problem. Why aren't we not just calling him out on how bullshit this claim is?
thought experiment, again,
Right.
if we're going to give it a serious
Right.
look, I want to understand, how would you propose that happen?
I hope you realize this is just a question we're asking everybody, right? But if you take all the...
That's a thought experiment, motherfucker. Let's engage with this critically. It's just a question. Okay, can answer your own fucking question. If we divided all the money equally, we returned to the same pockets in 5 years, how would we do that? Well, I don't know. It's just a question. Like, how dare you? How dare you question me on my own question?
Which is around $500 trillion, okay, give or take. You divide it by 8 billion people.
Wait, did they laugh at him?
$1 trillion. A question we're asking everybody, right? But if you take all the wealth, which is around $500 trillion.
I heard some laughing. Okay. I feel like that was such a stupid thing for him to say, and people were laughing at him. I think that counts as the circle laughs at something he says. I'm taking it. I'm taking it. Okay. There we go. I feel like also, maybe not a screaming match. I'll leave it. When him and that girl were getting into a conversation. The girl that was really short. The girl who's like the mic was like up to here on her. Sorry, that's not, I really meant to be mean. It was just a description. But yeah, they were kind of getting into it. It was getting a little feisty. I don't know. All right, we'll continue. I don't think Marx has been mentioned yet, which has been interesting. I was expecting maybe. Anyone? I don't think anyone used profanity. To be fair, obviously other than me. I feel like I use profanity so much that I just like don't even clock it if someone uses any profane language. But all right.
You divide it by 8 billion people.
Okay.
It would be around $62,500 each. Within 5 years, the people that don't know how to handle money themselves, they would lose it all. And within 5 years, the same wealthy would get the same amount of money.
As someone who certainly doesn't make that much money, I'm willing to take that as a gamble just for fun.
Right,
I'll be
sure.
honest. But
Yeah.
at the same time, like, okay, so you're just now claiming that people who don't have wealth don't know how to manage it. And that's fair because a lot of them have never had it before. So what do we do to basically ensure that people like myself who are currently, thank you to the United States, thank you to the state of California for giving me medical insurance to get blood work, for giving me food stamps so I can have food. I've applied to, I don't know how many hundreds of jobs. I can show you the receipts. I can show you the email confirmations. Like, I am trying my best to use my values with the freedom that we have
So
here.
if I gave you a job, you would work 40 hours a week?
If the job is in alignment with something that's noble and good, I think I could. The issue is, and again, you may say that this is a personal weakness, but like right now, substitute teaching, tutoring, trying to help in that way is making it so that I'm able to scratch by.
Yeah.
But without the supplemental income and the help from the society of people who make more money, I'm going to not have enough food.
I want to address something which you made a point that I agree with. On why don't some people create wealth? In my family, when I was growing up, and I was telling this young lady over here, when my dad was a cashier at a 99-cent store, we've never owned an insurance policy before. My parents, we've never owned a house before. I've never lived in an apartment with a swimming pool before. We've never had a 401k stock mutual fund, none of that stuff. I had no clue how money worked. So for me, when I got out of the Army with a 1.8 GPA, out of high school, I went straight to the Army because I didn't know how money works. If you look at our system today, in high school,
people like him
we learn about a lot of different things. They don't teach us about taxes, finances, mutual funds, stocks, bonds. Colleges don't even teach a lot of that right now. So
Do you
come
work
out.
in a high school?
Did I work at a high school?
Do you have experience like me, someone who's essentially on those front lines working in?
I've worked with many high school teachers and the directors of psychology to talk to the youth. Yes,
So
I have.
right now, I'm in a position where I have options, like you said. I do have some options, but they seem to be somewhat destructive and exploitative of me, of my peers. So I'm trying to
I think you're too
discriminate.
selective for jobs right now. You don't have the ability to be selective at this stage.
Well, but the thing is, I do because I'm
some...
instilled with a freedom that is maybe God, universe given, and I don't actually have to, because of the system, like you said, I don't have to play along with some corrupt game.
This is
So
a really good point he's making. He's like, people just have choice. You can do choice. Nah, you're being too selective. You don't really have a choice. How dare you use your choice that I'm claiming is the reason why it's not exploitation to do what you want. No. You need to take that job. If he needs to take that job, and you claim he's being too selective, then he in fact does not have choice under your view. Okay, which is what we're literally all saying.
California is perfect for someone like you.
Well, thankfully, California agrees. But you mentioned earlier in a previous discussion that we have free speech, we can say what we want.
Right.
But the thing is, have you been punched on the train for how you look and how you share your ideas?
Do I look like an American to you? Do you see this nose?
No, I'm just asking.
I'm Middle Eastern. You know what's happened to this guy? You know what's happened to me when I was discriminated all over the place?
So do you really feel like that's free speech if you're being
but I don't mind it.
By people who have prejudice?
We have free speech because I don't give a shit if you punch me in the nose because I say something you don't like. Oh yeah, that's totally what free speech.
I don't mind it because I understand there is risk that you may be disrespected. They're like, here, I've been disrespected.
I'm sorry. So if you face physical violence because of the speech, I'm just going off this thought that he's claiming. If you face physical violence because of the speech that you were uttering, you still have free speech, bro, because you're willing to endure it. And there's risk, There's risk, There's free speach, You have free speech, but you risk being thrown in jail by the government. Oh wait, that kind of destroys the whole concept of free speech. Like, technically, you have free speech anywhere under that worldview, because I guess in Iran, he could say whatever he wanted, and if he got thrown in jail for it, hey, there's some risks involved, and if you're not willing to take the risks, that's on you.
Affected here many times. I've been offended here many times. A lot of you are coming here finding a way to attack me and tell different stories. I'm okay with that.
I don't want to attack you.
You're being very respectful. I'm not talking about you. But what I'm saying to you is, when you say, have you ever been punched in the face on a bus? You don't want to hear about what things has happened to me because of the way I look.
Because I feel
but
like
I don't want to use
you've
that.
been through a lot of trauma in your life, and now you're kind of clinging to things.
I'm not. What I don't want to do that. I have my son is sitting right here, my 13-year-old son, my 4-year. I have 4 kids. I bring them everywhere. I want them to see that it's okay. People are going to disagree with you. You have to be comfortable with this.
All the time.
You are with 13.
Hey, yo. Ooh. I mean, I know what he means. He teaches, like, out of context.
Year-olds all the time?
Because of my job. Because I'm a substitute teacher and a tutor. The thing is, you can imply many different things, and that is your right. But what I'm saying is, right now, I care deeply about having a good experience. The incentive that I feel is for peace and prosperity.
I respect it.
And again, I'm using my freedom now, but the issue is you're saying we have all these options, but whenever I tour the globe, I see franchises that have monopolized pretty much everywhere. So when you talk about options, it's really, there's these select few people who have this infrastructure that's really benefiting them more than others, and without some sort of conscious, spiritual, moral awakening, what can we do except for beg and appeal and amass?
Well, no, you can't be too selective. At the beginning, when I worked at Haagen-Dazs, I couldn't be too selective for a job.
I can't whenever I can.
It's a choice.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, nice.
Appreciate you for being respectful.
There we go.
I'm glad y'all tripped over each other, because I did too. How's it going? James.
What's your name? James.
So one of the things that you have stated is that we have options. Okay. So just to give you a little bit of my background, I come from a divorced family, and we lived below the poverty level from the time that I was born until now, frankly. So I'm one of those people that you're talking about that isn't pulling themselves up by their bootstraps enough, which, like, I didn't have boots to begin with, and, like, I don't know if you've ever had boots, but, like, legs are load-bearing structures.
I relate.
And, like, you can't really pull up a boot when you're wearing it, So where exactly am I failing when I am working 80 hours a week? I am taking the only jobs that will hire me. I have put in 477 applications over the last 2.5 years. Not even gotten a call back once.
Why do you think?
You tell me. You're a job creator.
But I don't know your resume. You know your life better than I do. Why do you think you have not gotten a call back on 477?
Because a lot of people do not have a degree.
Okay.
Because I do not have a degree, because I could not afford one.
Okay.
I live in an area where the physical job market is very limiting.
Where do you live?
I live in rural Texas.
Okay.
So in that, like in the town that I grew up in, for instance, there are 8 jobs, period.
Does your family live there? Mom, dad, everybody's in that same city?
Everybody was at one point.
Okay.
Most of them are dead now.
Okay, sorry to hear.
It is what it is. It's poverty. We're kind of used to that on this side.
Why do you feel like you're a victim? Why do you feel like you're a victim? Why do you feel like the way you speak, like you're the victim where all this happened to you?
Because I exist and things happen to you, and as such, things happen, and that's why I say that they happen.
Why are you a victim? Why are you a victim of poverty? How dare just think you're not, bro. I swear, it's so easy.
You're a good-looking guy. Why do you think you're a victim? Why do you think you're somebody that's got into a situation because it's not fair what happened to me? Let me give you a couple options.
Sure.
Are you open to leaving the city you're in?
I've already left it.
So what city?
I've left multiple cities.
So if somebody else gave you a job in a different place, you'd be
100%.
willing to move there?
100%.
Okay. On your resume,
It says that.
What do you have on your resume? Skill set. What do you offer?
Transportation expertise, logistics expertise.
You consider yourself a hard worker?
I mean, I feel like 80 hours a week.
That's a
hard
worker.
Sure.
How about we do this? How about I interview and I give you a job? Would you move to Fort Lauderdale?
Ooh, man, that's Florida. Sure, why not?
Would you move to Fort Lauderdale?
Sure, why not?
How about you and I document this? After this, you come, I do an interview with you, and I give you a job. And let's see what you do 90 days later.
Okay, I'll look up your company and all that kind of stuff, and I'll see it.
But you see what just happened
regardless,
right there? But watch what you just did.
Sure.
You just said you applied to 477 companies who's not gotten back to you.
Yeah.
A business owner who's hiring aggressively just made an offer to you. You said you're willing to move. Then you said, I'll look at it. You became selective.
I didn't say I look at it if you'd let me finish my sentence.
Go ahead. I want to hear it.
I would like to look into your company to see exactly what you guys do.
You would like to?
Because I don't know what you guys do. Okay. So as far as I'm concerned, I may be wasting my time going. If you guys are a finance company, if you guys are a bank or something like that, I don't have the certifications, I don't have the degrees. So even interviewing me would be a moot point.
What if I gave you a job, period, to work 80 hours a week? Would you take it? And I paid you a reasonable wage.
Are we talking a livable wage or a reasonable wage?
What do you make right now?
And whose version of reasonable are we talking about? Your version of reasonable or my version of reasonable?
But you see, so now, for me, what I'm noticing from you is
I need specifics?
No, not necessarily. No, most of the people I hire need specifics. The difference is I'm trying to hire them. In this instance, you're trying to get a job and you're being selective. It's going to work against you.
I mean, I'm not trying to get a job. Originally, I was trying to ask you where the moral...
My offer's off the table because you're going to be difficult to work with.
Okay, sure. But my question was, where is my moral failing? Like, where is it that you are saying that I am not working hard enough and I am not doing enough?
I just experienced it right now because the way you just handled this situation.
Got it. So I should accept anything that somebody gives me at first blush if it is a guaranteed thing.
No, not necessarily.
I agreed to do your interview. I agreed to be interviewed by you, and you agreed to consider me for hiring.
Yeah.
So therefore, I am taking that opportunity. I've chosen to. But because I am asking you for specifics, your immediate reaction is that, oh, well, you're trying to be picky. When I'm not. I'm asking
specifics. You could have simply
said I need to look up your company. That's all I said.
You could have said is I'm willing to have the interview.
And I did.
You would have had the interview.
And I did.
No, you said it depends.
I said,
I don't know.
Sure.
Let me look.
Yeah, sure. I would look into your company. That's all I said.
I appreciate you. Thank you, James.
The one he said he's going to get.
What's your name?
Faye.
Faye?
Yeah.
Good to
nice
meet you.
So how would you define socialism? Because I think you're kind of misunderstanding what anti-capitalist ideals look like. I think we are just trying to advocate for basic rights for our people in this country and across the world, of course. But I don't think it's necessarily about equal wealth disparity around the world. For most people that are anti-capitalist, I think it's more about just standard rights that are provided by the government.
Standard rights that are provided by the government?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah, so...
Go a little bit deeper. So for you, when the claim here is, if the money in the world were divided equally, it will return to the same pockets within 5 years. Do you disagree?
Yes.
Tell me why you disagree.
Yeah, so I disagree because I don't even think people are trying to argue for that.
People are not trying to argue for that?
So, who are you arguing in this
yeah,
debate?
What I'm trying to say...
There's like a very select amount of people that are trying to argue for equal wealth disparity.
Yeah.
Most people are at least trying to advocate for wealth and at all for people that don't have access to healthcare right now, that don't have access to a good education right now, that don't have access to their basic needs like food.
Do you think our system right now allows people to stay in those situations long term?
They force them to stay in those situations long term.
Okay, so part of me actually agrees with you, but why do you think they force them to stay in those situations long term?
Because it's beneficial for them to do so. Because it makes sense for them to be in that position. Okay, they make more money when people are poor and working the same jobs. Like this is the whole point. He just said, I'm just confused. He just contradicted himself very clearly because at first, before he said, if you do that job, if you work multiple jobs and are living, minimum wage below the poverty line for a couple of years, that's fine. But if you do it for a lifetime, you're doing something wrong. Well, actually, no, the system is incentivized to have you work for a long time in those jobs. Which one is it, Patrick? So if you were saying the system is pushing people, especially people who are very poor, to work these exact same jobs, but no, they should really just get over that, and they should really go against all of that, pressure that they're getting, because they should just, I don't know, find it in their gut and their grit to forge their own path while they're working all that and barely making ends meet and raising children.
Convince the working class that they don't have rights.
I actually don't think that's what it is, although that's fair to your point here. What's the chances that any of you here voted for Donald Trump in 2024? Exactly, right? What is the chances that all of you here can't stand the phrase MAGA, Donald Trump, any of that stuff? Is that a fair assessment? Fair, okay.
Yeah, so it's your point.
So think about it this way. So maybe you're right that the Democratic Party that's been earning your vote for a long time wants to keep you there because they'll have your vote for the rest of your life.
They have never earned my vote.
Who did you vote for in 2024?
In 24, I voted for the socialist candidate.
Who was that?
Claudia de la Cruz, I believe.
Who did you vote for in 2020?
I was actually not able to vote. I was in a hospital.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yes,
sorry
because of results of capitalism.
Tell me more.
Yeah, so I didn't have access to proper health care or even access to a proper job that would sustain me as a disabled person.
Are you comfortable being specific on what happened?
I
you
guess
don't have
so.
to if you're not comfortable
I'm
with it.
also mentally ill, so that was something I had to deal with. But I'm mainly mentally ill because I am disabled in a capitalist country.
Tell me more about mentally ill. Who qualified you as somebody that's mentally ill?
Me and my doctor team.
Who convinced you that you're mentally ill?
Convinced you?
Me and my doctor team.
What's the specific category of mental illness? Is there one? You know why I asked this question? Let me explain to you why I asked this question.
So I don't even like the psychological industry. I don't really stand for like Sigmund Freudian politics or anything like that. So if you're going to debate the ethics of psychology.
I'm not. Where I'm going with this is going back to the same thing with if the money were to divide it equally, it'll end up being where it's at within 5 years. My trouble is, in many cases, somebody you and I look up to will say something to us that we choose to believe for the rest of our lives. Unfortunately, it could be something where you have ADHD, you're mentally ill, you're poor, you're this, you're that, and you get to choose to buy into that or not. And if you
how do you choose whether to buy into whether you're poor? What fucking world do we live in? Oh gosh, golly gee, I'm just gonna forget that I'm poor and then I won't be poor. Oh my god. This is so fucking delusional. How do I genuinely don't even know if I want to watch the rest of this video. I will. I'll watch the rest of it, but holy shit. Oh my god. Guys, have you thought about just, like, not being poor? Have you thought about just ignoring how poor you are, that your stomach is grumbling and you're not able to afford healthcare? Yeah, just if you ignore the fact that your needs are not being met, maybe it'll just go away. Maybe that persistent headache you get away from malnourishment will just go away, or being overworked, or that pain that you get from being on your feet for an extended amount of time and not having access to healthcare in order to, have that preventative care. Ignore it. It'll go away.
So you're saying I'm not mentally ill or I'm not disabled?
I'm not saying you are or you're not. I would challenge you to go a little bit deeper to see if there's anything you can do about it.
So you're asking me about my health. You're asking me about my disability.
I'm not.
And my...
I will say we are in a market where, stay with me here, there is a market where there's profit to convince you to you have issues to take the medication because they're making money.
Yeah, but I don't have...
That's a critique of capitalism then. No one's saying that over-medicalization isn't necessarily a problem. That's a problem of capitalism. It's a problem of capitalism for multiple reasons. One, they want to sell you drugs because they make money off of the incredibly expensive drugs they sell you. But also, there is a push to medicalize solutions or come up with medical remedies because it's easier than societal remedies. Maybe you're not actually depressed. Maybe the fact that we live in a very broken society in which your meaning is defined by how much value you provide monetarily to your corporation or to your employer is what's making you depressed. No, it's not that. You just have a chemical imbalance. Let's give you some pills. Maybe it's not you that's broken. Maybe it's society, and you are responding correctly to a sick society. It makes sense. It doesn't make sense, actually, to be healthy in a profoundly sick society.
Access to the medication. I don't have access to even a result or a solution to my disability as someone with a connective tissue disorder. It's genetic.
Have you been able to go to different doctors and get yourself tested? And
yeah.
See? You have?
Yes.
And in California?
Yes, but not enough. I can't find a specialist.
You can't find a specialist?
I can't find a specialist.
Is there anyone in your life that's willing to pay for the specialist?
Well, they could they would if they had money, but yeah.
Would you be okay if I pay for a specialist for you to go see?
Yeah.
Would you take money from a capitalist to help you go see specialist?
I mean, yeah, sure, why not?
I'm going to have you go see two, do you live in California?
Yeah.
I'm going to have you go see 2 specialists, but would you also be open to seeing somebody else I choose as a psychologist that may...
No.
You're not.
No.
Yeah. So
you choose as a psychologist. You're choosing who gets to determine what my mental health looks like. No.
Okay, then I
there
wish
we go.
nothing but the best.
Yeah,
there we go.
So I think
profanity. And justifiably used there, mind you. Here, I'll pay for your specialist, but also I need to send you to a psychologist that will convince you that nothing's ever wrong with you and that you are the only cause of any failure you've ever experienced. Jesus Christ.
All right, thanks for talking.
Thank you so much. Yes, anytime.
How you doing, man?
What's your name?
Seth.
Seth, good to meet you.
I think your claim kind of doesn't make any sense because it would not inherently be a capitalist society you're describing. Because I'm surprised nobody's really addressed this issue. We haven't even defined what socialism is. Capitalism is a system in which all businesses are funded by millionaires and billionaires, investor classes. If this society, everybody had the same amount of money, I don't really know how the money would be generated up and down. I don't know in this theoretical. It sounds more like an anarchist society.
99.9% of businesses in the U.S. qualify as small business, according to Forbes. Okay.
Which would make more sense.
You know, we're using this as a hypothetical.
Yeah, so
I want to make sure I qualify that we're not.
We haven't even described what capitalism is.
But stay on this point here because you came here. Let me go back to this one. If all the money in the world divided equally, it would return to the same pockets within 5 years. Do you agree or disagree?
Well, I disagree.
Tell me why you
because
disagree.
I believe in a system more akin to that kind of system. I think that...
No, you agree with it. Just, that's the problem. These people think they have to disagree with him. No, I agree with you that the money would return to the same pockets because that's how the system is set up. It's not just how the money is allocated. It's how the system is set up to allocate that money. Of course, money in poorer neighborhoods goes to the top. That's how it's designed to be. Like, oh my God, this is the problem. Seth almost made the point correctly that this almost implies that he's defining socialism as if the money is divided equally among everyone, when that's not the definition of socialism or communism or any economic system. This is the problem. They base their claims off of their own straw men. And here's the thing with Bet David. Let me go back so I'm not clipping this dude there. The problem with Bet David is I don't even think he's just self-interested so he has a motivation to misunderstand things like socialism because he benefits from capitalism. I think that's part of it. I genuinely do think he's just that stupid. I genuinely do think he just has no idea. The fact that he graduated with a 1.8 GPA does not surprise me. Not the brightest tool in the shed. Okay? I'm just saying.
Agree.
Well, I disagree.
Tell me why you
I
disagree.
Believe in
you know why the wealth would go back to the same people and the same people
at the bottom of the
report?
It
why
would.
do you think it would?
Well, it wouldn't go back to the same thing or places because I don't think that we have an inherent equal starting point in the beginning.
Yeah, but this is a starting point. What I'm saying to you is,
it's not. This is the problem. People like him don't understand systems. They don't understand systemic issues. What you're talking about is you just completely. This is the thing though. We're talking money or actually the means of production, because I think net worth and cash and money are different. So are you saying that not only would the money be divided equally, but also the infrastructure, but also control over the means of production? If those are included in money, then I disagree, because then they wouldn't. Those people simply just would not have the power to accumulate all of this wealth, unless you think that the people who are rich are just so vastly superior intellectually, which is really what they think. These people somehow think these people simultaneously think that, like, it's a meritocracy, anyone can do it, but like these people are just so much smarter inherently. They're just so inherently smart. If it's inherent, then people don't have control over it. And then if they get more money because of someone else, because of their inherent intellect, then how is that a meritocracy when they're benefiting from natural talents that are of no fault of their own? But also at the same time, then they say that no. People should not have equal access to things, or that it is meritocratic because anyone can do it. So either can anyone do it, or can some people are better at doing it because they're smarter.
That's what I'm saying, why it wouldn't go to the same places, because we have never even tested some sort of free market. We've never seen any sort of system akin to that. A genuine free market, not one that's distorted by capitalists, by business owners. Capitalists generally protect their own class. That's why people rise to the top. Yes,
I don't know about that. I actually think it's a very competitive place to be.
No, there's not. Not at all. People start at the very bottom. They have no shot to
competition here. Oh, I already did that. Capitalism is needed. Okay, just wanted to check. Can we keep going?
You know why I make the claim of if all the money in the world were divided equally would return to the same pockets within 5 years?
I'm assuming that you think that because people work harder or something like that. But I would argue the people that work the hardest are the people that make the least amount of money. The people that work the least, live on their yachts, are the ones that are owning all this company. Never been inside the businesses that they own.
I don't know if I agree with that. I was just in Arkansas 3 days ago. I was just in Arkansas a week ago, and I went to a city called Hot Springs, Arkansas. It was two friends from high school started a windows company. 250 employees.
Yeah.
The city loves them. They work their tails off.
I'm not really referring to small businesses.
But I'm talking about, but many big businesses started small. Walmart wasn't big day one.
Oh, yeah.
Walmart was small when it first got started.
Why are they still a monopoly? Because they exist off of...
They're not a monopoly. Amazon is taking a big share away from them.
Oligopoly, whatever. They own a large market share because their ability to use their money to lobby.
Do you know how many jobs they've created around the world, Walmart has?
I'm not even referring to
3 million jobs worldwide.
The point being is they distort, capitalists distort the market so it's unfree. How could it be a free market if everybody in the market inherently wants to make it unfree because they want to rise to the top?
I'm watching you.
If everybody has the incentive to maintain a free market, then that's something that...
So let me go back. The reason why I said if all the money in the world were divided equally, it would return to the same pockets within 5 years. To me, it's because of market value, what value you bring to the place, your contacts, your relationship, how hard you're working, all of those combined. Habits that you have in place.
That's based on money, and habits are formed in childhood through education, which is dependent on money. Everything in our capitalist society is dependent on money. So when you say that things like motivation and things like habits and things like mindset, they're tied to money because education and upbringing is tied to money. Okay, so you can't make this claim that anyone can do it when everyone doesn't have the same opportunities. It's just the case.
And also habits at the bottom. The habits at the bottom are not long-term thinking, it's short-term.
Why?
When I didn't have any money and I was broke $49,000, if I had $500 to my name, we're driving on the freeway to go to Vegas to party for the weekend and come back. If I had a penny to my name, I'm having a blast. Until 25 years old, I changed my habits financially. Then things changed. But this point here that we're talking about with the wealth...
Some people are so far off from that point, they're so far in debt that small decisions would not alter...
It's not true.
Yes, it absolutely is
true. It's not true.
You're just privileged and you've lived in a certain
You think
example.
I'm privileged.
I'm privileged. You're privileged to become a millionaire because of your hard work. That's amazing.
My mom ran out of money and went back to Iran. You're talking to a guy that would have done 20 years in the army. If one guy doesn't call me... If one guy would have called me to...
The army is the government funding you.
I understand that, and I joined the army because I had given up on life.
Social programs.
No, I had.
Absolutely.
I was not confident on what I could do, but I changed. So can you? Look at the way you're speaking to me.
You can change. You can work hard, but
do you know somebody like you? Do you know somebody like you that speaks this eloquently? If somebody gets a hold of you in real estate, insurance, finance, you can learn how to sell, and you can make some real good money. Somebody like you that I'm watching.
Not everybody's born with those abilities. You have to be,
brother.
Somebody who's white, tall, 6'4", whatever. They're
I'm
much
Middle Eastern. I'm from Iran. Do you realize a lot of stuff that goes against me?
Okay, but many people have no choice to
physically
alter.
But that's an excuse language to be making. That's not a language.
If you never have the opportunity to compete because you're pre-business.
Just ignore that there are disparities and differences. Stop talking about all the differences. It's so many excuses. Excuses are reality. But he doesn't like reality, so he calls it excuses, so that when you call out things that actually exist, like wealth inequality and disparities, no, you're just making excuses. This motherfucker in this situation would call the doctor making excuses for saying you have cancer. No, stop talking about it. Don't diagnose a problem. You're making excuses. Because If you don't correctly diagnose a problem, we can't solve the problem. So he directly stands to benefit from us not solving the problem or knowing what the problem is in the first place.
I appreciate you being respectful. Truly, you need to know that. So, I'll be respectful to everybody.
Absolutely.
But I appreciate you for being respectful. Right now, everybody that's here, me changing your mind, it's not a very high likelihood.
Sure.
Okay? The audience that's watching, 40% of them are going to agree with what you say, what you say, what you say, what you say, and they hate me. 40% of the audience is going to agree with me. 20% of the audience is in the middle saying, I don't know, man, what do you think I should do? Should I feel like a victim or should I not make excuses? Or what is that guy saying? Or should I do this? Or should I sympathize? The 20% that's watching this, that has a fighting chance, I'm hoping they realize they can do something about their lives. We're not going to be able to solve 100% of people's problems, unfortunately.
I don't think people should keel over, but that doesn't mean most people have an equal competitive advantage to some.
I think everybody has a certain gift to offer.
Somebody like me is more privileged inherently.
I think everybody listening to her present, she could be a lawyer. Listening to her present, she's got fire in her belly. Everybody here's got a gift. Every single person here's got a gift. Whether they choose to use it in a way to help them advance in life, that's not my fault.
Not everybody
that's on
can
them.
afford to increase their market value.
You can.
No,
you actually
not
can.
Everybody.
Well, we respectfully disagree.
I appreciate you.
Thank you again. Appreciate you.
Surrounded is currently casting passionate 55 and older Trump supporters who are ready to have a thoughtful conversation about politics, generational differences, and the current administration.
I've never seen
if this is you, apply using the link in the description. Feel free to spread the word to your family members, relatives, or friends who might be interested.
That's funny.
My final claim is the U.S. is more socialist than capitalist today. If you hate the system, you're anti-socialist.
Hold on. Okay, we're getting Xena back, but first off. So the U.S. is more socialist than capitalist today. So everything, mind you, that he said about how America is the best country in the world got to be because of socialism right now. You see how, like, idiotic his points are? Literally, he's going back against all of his points before. I guess then the reason that everyone's coming to the country is because we're so socialist. Yeah, we're just so socialist. Everyone, all those immigrants that are coming in because you just claim that there's so much opportunity here, it's because of socialism. According to you, it's socialism. What? What? Ugh.
Hello.
You're back at it again.
Yep. Yeah, so I think it's super important here for all leftists alike, but for the audience in general to define what these terms are. And I think the best way to do it would be to look at the theorists, right? Over history, we've seen communism and socialism talked about by governments and by, I guess, programs, but we never actually read the actual theory. And what theorists all agree on is that socialism would be a transitionary state between capitalism and communism, where the means of production are specifically owned by workers, not privately. The idea that any country now is anywhere near socialist, let alone communist, would simply be ridiculous and just it wouldn't reflect theory whatsoever.
What is the definition of communism to you?
Stateless, moneyless classes society.
And you prefer that?
Yeah. So I think that we should be moving towards
communism.
Yeah. Stateless, moneyless classes society.
So you don't think a person like me should exist with the amount of wealth that I have?
Yeah, because I think that we're getting to this point where we're creating fake scarcity for people like you to accumulate the wealth that you have on the basis of private ownership.
Okay, so you're not capitalist. You're definitely not capitalist. You're not socialist. You want to go full communism.
So what do you think that looks like, though, as a thing, right? So what Marx actually wanted was for us to reach a point where we no longer.
Sorry, one sec. Let me go, Marx. Yay! So close. How close are we to another bingo? We have 3 bingos, right? One here, one here. We have 2 bingos. So we have 3. One. I am sorry, guys. I am tired. 1, 2, 3. We have 3 bingos. 2, 3. All right. So close. I haven't heard basic economics. Maybe he said that here. I thought he was going to bring up a story about his buddy. I swear I thought he almost did. I don't know if that counts. Maybe, maybe not. Yeah.
The scarcity of resources that has kind of predicted, history as it looks like now. It wouldn't happen now.
Right.
It would happen as we automate. At this point in time, we can decommodify housing and food and education for around 5% of the government budget. That's 1/5, a little bit over 1/5 of what we spend on the military
This claim
already.
is not realistic. Damn, she got fact checked. What is this about? 2.6 trillion on food alone. Food would be 38.6% of that. 5%. Let me go back.
housing and food and education for around 5% of the government budget. That's 1/5, a little bit over one.
No, hold on. That's a sleazy fact check. Consumers and entities spending $2.6 trillion on food doesn't mean that if we did it a different way, not through corporations, that it would still cost $2.6 trillion. Oh, I fucking hate these fact checks. She's right. The fact check is wrong. The fact check is wrong because it's assuming that the cost that consumers and entities spend on food is only spent on the cost necessary for the food, not corporate salaries, not increased access to more research and development for those companies in order to become more profitable in exploiting people, not raising prices for consumers to gouge the most out of them. There are so many things. Now, granted, I don't have the exact numbers here, and I'd be interested to know the numbers that Zena is referencing in terms of what determines how much we would spend on food. So just because the U.S. government currently spends not the U.S. government, U.S. consumers spending $2.6 trillion on food means that if we were to do it differently without corporations, we would still spend $2.6 trillion. Now, whether or not that's 5% of $6.75 trillion, I'm not sure, but it is a very dishonest fact check to claim that what Zena is saying is that the government would do it exactly the same way we're doing now and include all of the corporate subsidies and buybacks and stock bonuses and dividends and all the stuff that makes all of these big agricultural companies immensely wealthy. Just saying there. That's a terrible fact check.
1/5 of what we spend on the military already.
It makes a lot of sense that that SAN is a right-wing fact check organization funded by billionaires. I'm just saying that.
We don't, because we were living in the state where it almost seems utopian that things like food and shelter.
How old were you the first time you thought you wanted to be a communist? How old were you the first time?
Is that a response to any
really
of the
curious.
statistics?
No, because the statistics are against you.
The statistics
it's never worked. There's so many Cubans that moved to Miami. They love their country. They hate the politics. In Russia, they even run away from communism because it didn't work. It killed so many people.
Because that almost like it wasn't communist.
It's almost
was there a
amateurish
state? Yes, there was. Was there class?
Communistic
yes,
argument.
there was. It's almost like you're not replying to any of the statistics that I've presented to you. I think that's the biggest problem.
You're a dictator telling me what dreams should be.
Dictators would not be allowed under communism.
Dictators end up, of course, running communism.
But they weren't.
If somebody's taxing 100%, what is a dictatorship?
So again, how much money do you think?
100% in taxes. What is communism?
How much money do you think?
Dictatorship.
How much money do you think would it take to, I don't know, allow everyone food, shelter, water, and education in this country?
How much money would it take?
Yeah.
But going back to your question here with communism.
Oh, not going to answer that shit. Shut the fuck up. Answer the question.
Nothing I say is responded
but
to.
I'm trying to find out from you here. You're saying communism is not dictatorship.
No.
Define dictatorship.
Yeah, so when one person or one small entity, is able to, enforce its will on the people. When we have a private ownership, when we have a system based on private ownership, that's what happens every single time.
That's dictatorship.
Yeah, so we
dictatorship as private ownership.
Yeah, so private ownership.
Under communism, under communism, doesn't Elon Musk exist?
Yeah, no.
No, so that's dictatorship. Thank you.
That's complete.
In our society, can a Jeffrey Dahmer, is a Jeffrey Dahmer legally allowed to exist? Dictatorship. Dictatorship. You can't even be a cannibal serial murderer in our society anymore. Gosh, so much for freedom. Yeah, oh God. God forbid you can't accumulate billions upon billions upon billions of dollars in wealth while people starve. And it's a dictatorship because if you can't do it, if you can't do anything, if you are not allowed to do anything, you must be a dictator. You must live in a dictatorial society. We live in that right now. If I can't go punch Patrick in the face, like he said has happened before, we must live in a dictatorship because my freedom is being seriously curtailed. What the fuck are we doing? Oh my God.
Incorrect. Under capitalism, we don't have, the freedom for people to.
You do.
Okay,
of
so
course you do.
Under capitalism, right? We don't see that the commodification.
Would you consider China communism right now?
Would you consider
China communism
shelter, or water, or education when we can with 5% of the budget? Why don't we see that?
Would you consider China communism?
Why haven't you answered any of my questions?
Would you consider
Why
China?
haven't you responded to any of my statistics?
Would you consider China communism?
It's almost like we're not having a conversation and you're
we
talking
are having
at
a conversation where you have an argument that's been proven that it's not worked.
It's almost like I just
everybody
gave you
is
a definition of
moving
communism
away
for you
from
to
it.
critique, and you haven't been able
If
to.
it's such a great system, why are other
It hasn't
nations
happened
not?
yet because we've never been at a point for
That's
it to
right,
happen.
because we've not found a noble person that can do it the right way. That's not a dictator.
If you were to read the plain text of Marx, we would see that he wanted
I've
us
read
to reach.
Communist Manifesto. I've gone
I
through
promise
it.
you, if you
have,
you wouldn't have said that capitalism today is socialist.
Have you read Wealth of Nations?
Yeah, so I've read Das Kapital, I've read the Communist Manifesto as well, Engels' Collective Works, etc. What do you think, if you think that communism is in any way us having wages or us having, a privatized means of production, you don't know what it is.
You choose my dreams, and I refuse to do that.
Who are you arguing
with? Dictate my
Where
dreams.
did you get that from?
What do you mean?
Well, haven't I? That was interesting.
Well, let's go. Justin, nice to meet you.
Justin, good to meet you.
How you doing, Patrick?
I'm doing good. How you doing?
Doing pretty good. So I need to pick your brain a little bit. You're saying U.S. is largely socialist. I want to focus on the word largely. So why do you believe it is largely socialist?
Because 68% or so of the money that we take in goes towards entitlement programs.
So I think one of the social programs, like what? This is the problem. These people don't know the meaning of words that they use. So capitalism is when no social programs. I just want to be very clear. Capitalism is with no social programs whatsoever at all. And if you cannot afford any sort of healthcare, there's no government subsidies and you die. Even under that definition of socialism, that's better than his capitalist utopia where no one has any sort of safety net at all.
Things that is going to be major to me, it's like Zena was touching on earlier, is going to be the fact that socialism is a big part of it is going to be workers owning the means of productions. When we have President Biden, for example, telling that the railroad strikers, it's going to be illegal for them to strike, I don't see that as much of a workplace democracy.
Did you have a question, or you're just saying the fact that you don't agree with President Biden and what he said?
I'm just saying a core tenet of socialism is the workers owning the means of production. The workers currently do not own the means of production. So why do you believe it is largely socialist?
So you're saying the workers should own the means of production?
That is correct.
Okay, so to you, that's the definition of socialism.
That is a core tenet of it.
What else would you define as socialism? I'm curious.
There's a lot of different things. It's like Zena was touching on as well. Moneyless, stateless classes society. But I think more important than not, workers owning the means of production and workplace democracy.
Are you more socialist?
They're the same term, man. Marx used them interchangeably.
The only difference I would put is because where I see in America, I think we are extremely getting close to being a socialistic nation with the amount of taxes that we have in place right now.
That's great.
But at least
socialism is when the government does stuff. And the more stuff it does, the more socialist it is. And if it does a whole lot of stuff, then it's communism. I am Patrick Bet-David for you. I stole that a bit from Richard Wolff, a Marxian professor, who's an interesting guy. I think he has a lot of good ideas, but I don't know.
Under communism, I can't survive. I would prefer us staying at the 10% tax rate. I think we're paying way too much taxes.
Why would you not be able to survive?
I wouldn't be able to pursue my dreams that I have in place under communism. My mother's family, they were part of the Two-Day Party. The Two-Day Party in Iran was a communist party. They had escaped Armenia and Russia and came down to Iran, and they pursued communism. I grew up in a family where everything was about the rich are greedy, the rich people are bad, the rich people are this, and the rich people are that. My dad's side, they were imperialist. My dad's side, they said poor people are lazy. So one side, rich people are greedy. The other side, poor people are lazy. Who's right?
I would say that neither are right, of course.
I would say both are right and wrong, is what I would say.
Both are right.
And wrong. Both are right and wrong. Because I do believe there are extremely greedy rich people. And I do believe there are extremely lazy poor people. But I also believe there's a lot of hardworking poor people that are working, but they haven't found a way to get out of it. I agree with that as well.
So that's actually the major point right there. They're not able to get out of it.
You can get out of it. You could actually get out of it.
But you just said they're not able to.
No, because they're choosing not to develop. I just made an offer for a book recommendation here, so I'm not interested. If I sit there and somebody's giving you feedback and saying, what about if you think about finding ways to improve your life?
Offer me that book then. I'll check it out.
You would read the book?
Sure, why not?
I'll give you a handful of them.
We'll talk about this after this.
I'll give it to you afterwards.
Yeah,
the point I'm trying to make to you is, if you can exist under a capitalistic society, and I can exist under a capitalistic society, so can she. But
okay, we can both exist under a socialist society.
Yeah, I'm sure. Not, but this is stupid. Definitionally, not everyone can be Patrick Bet-David under a capitalist society. Not everyone can be that wealthy. It's not possible, because then the wealth doesn't matter. Does that not make sense? Not everyone can be rich, because then if you're rich, it doesn't matter if you're rich. So no, this whole thing, everyone can be like, no, they can't. They definitionally can't.
Not under communistic, and under socialism, the incentive would be bad. Think about it this way.
Incentive is high.
Hold on. If we're more socialist and you couldn't exist under socialism, then do you not exist right now? Do you exist, Patrick? Because clearly, apparently, you must not exist. This is so stupid. How did they let a room temperature IQ dumbass like him in the room?
During COVID, take the 2 states, California and New York. They lost $1 trillion of wealth that left. Do you know where they went to?
Where did they go
went
to?
to Texas, Nevada, Florida, Tennessee. You know why? Because it's a better climate for entrepreneurs. Today, if you look.
Yeah, no shit, it was a better climate for entrepreneurs, because they had no protections whatsoever at all to ensure that people were like staying home and not spreading the virus. Yeah, no shit, I guess if you don't shut down businesses, people are going to want to go, especially entrepreneurs are going to want to go where businesses aren't shut down so they can make money off of people who are infecting themselves and then dying. Yeah, you're going to have economic hardship during a global pandemic. That's just the reality. And that's when the government should step in and help solve that problem, not encourage entrepreneurs to go take advantage of people in other states whose governors and whose legislatures do not have the decency to follow public health expertise and protect them against a deadly virus. Good Lord.
Look at New York City.
Yeah,
you know
that's just how the market works.
You know who Mamdani is.
I understand how.
You know who Mamdani is. Are you a fan of Mamdani?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, from
I love
New York.
Zoran.
Zoran's up there saying he doesn't believe billionaires should exist.
Correct.
I hope he wins. I hope he wins. You know why? Because he says, I don't believe billionaires should exist. And he's going to be the mayor of a city that has the most billionaires in America, 123. I hope he wins so we can see what happens to New York when the billionaires leave. When they leave, here's who's going to pay the price. The people that are left behind who were taking advantage of the taxes that billionaires were paying. You think the government's going to change?
This is a farce. This is such a farce. Also, the idea of billionaires having a cost of living crisis in New York is fucking hilarious. But also, it wouldn't happen. We've already seen this happen. Under Obama, they paid more taxes. Especially under FDR, they paid more fucking taxes. Did they fucking leave? No. Billionaire flight is a myth. They blackmail you by thinking, if you try to make us pay more money, we're just gonna take our toys and go home. No, they're not. They're not. They like to be in New York. They still reap immense benefits. They get more benefits being in New York, one of the wealthiest cities in the world, regardless of if they have to pay a little bit of extra money on top of it. Mind you, these taxes that they're advocating for are on money above like $1 million. That's what high tax rates mean. It's above a certain threshold, then you pay a lot of tax on that. That's what it is. It's not, oh my God, we're going for your bottom line and they're going to bankrupt you. No, it's not. That's just not how this works.
Budget
when
expenditure.
There's a $30 minimum wage, I can't imagine that
Middle America's going to take the biggest hit if billionaires leave the state of New York. You'll see. Oh, you're back.
Hello
How
again.
are you? Good to see you.
Learn a bit more.
Okay.
Firstly, I want to start by saying that the U.S. is not largely socialist, because that's not what socialism is. Socialism is social or collective ownership by the workers or a community of the means of production, right? So we're talking about like city-run grocery stores, or we're talking about worker cooperatives, or even in some cases credit unions, where a local community owns the bank that they take part in, right? That's what socialism is. Socialism is not when the government does stuff for you. It's not when they build roads. That happens under capitalist economies. That happens under socialist economies. But I'm also not sure you entirely know what capitalism is. And if it's okay, I'd like to ask a couple questions about your job.
Sure.
Because you're offering that. I know that you're Valuetainment, right? You run a YouTube podcast. You also run PHP Agency, right?
Yep.
Yes. And you sell life insurance policies, right?
Life insurance and annuities.
Yes. I read an article by the Daily Beast which argued that you make more money from recruitment fees to get people to work for you than you make money from selling those policies. Capitalism is when you provide a service and sell the labor of yourself or the person who works for you in return for money. But you're not really doing that, right? You're selling being part of the company through recruitment fees. I'm not sure that's capitalism.
How familiar are you with the insurance industry?
Pretty familiar.
Are you?
Yes.
You've been in the industry before?
No, my grandfather was. And I asked him a lot of questions.
So in the insurance industry, when you're in it,
yes,
you get paid
yes.
by selling life insurance policies, and you get paid by selling annuities.
Life insurance policies, mind you, the way they're done, especially, is criminal. Especially when people are able to sell their life insurance policies to people who are betting on their death. Can you think about that? You can sell your life insurance policy before you die because you need the money because, for example, you're going to fucking die. And then people will buy that life insurance policy, especially companies will buy up those life insurance policies and hope that you die sooner because then they cash out and make more money. It's very, very, very morally decrepit.
Distribution channel of a company right after I left Morgan Stanley and Transamerica. We started the insurance company. We grew it helping middle-income families who didn't have another opportunity to create wealth for themselves. I just came back from our event in Vegas.
Hold on, I'm not sure that's correct, though.
It is, though.
It's not correct, though, because what do you make more money from?
I just came back from. We don't make more money from recruiting.
I read the Daily Beast article that did that. I also watched CoffeeZilla's debate with you, where you pulled up receipts that the majority of the employees of your company don't make any money.
Here's a question for you. For you. Bring up CoffeeZilla.
Yeah.
Daily Beast is a different story. Go to CoffeeZilla.
Sure, of course.
Do you think if I was worried about my business model, I would go on CoffeeZilla? What do you think? Do you
think that it's not really capitalist.
Hang on a second. Do you think if I was worried about my business model, I would go on CoffeeZilla? They were actually very strong when they came back after me. We had a 2-hour conversation.
Yes.
We finished it. It was good to go. We moved on. Their claims that only 1% or 2% make and nobody makes it in insurance, they're right. Most people don't make it in insurance. Just like most people who move to California don't make it in Hollywood.
So I believe
and
the
most people
technical
don't make it in
term
real
for when you
estate.
make more money from getting people to be part of a company than from actually selling a service is called a multi-level marketing scheme. Do you think that that's a fair characterization of your company? Why not?
Do you know what multi-level is?
Yes, I know. It's where you make more money from, it's sort of like a pyramid scheme wherein you make more money from getting people to be part of it and selling them to be part of the company.
A pyramid scheme doesn't have a product. That's criminal.
No, it's still
a multi-level market.
No, they still have a product. They still try to sell you a product. It's just that selling the product is not the end goal. It's to sell the people and sell their services to which a product in which is either like a shitty product. The product is not the end goal. They're still a product. It's just that the product sucks and no one really wants the product, so they pyramid scheme their way into making money.
Company is more like an Amway, an Herbalife, a New Skin, those companies.
But
because it pays you.
You are making more money from getting people to be part of your company than you are from making money from actually providing a service.
That's not true. It's a claim by Daily Beast. By the way, do you know what equality of earnings is?
Yes.
What's equality of earnings? Tell everybody what equality of earnings is. Go ahead.
Fair point. The quality of earnings isn't that like the value that's produced from when you make the money? Like how much from the labor that's produced, or am I wrong?
What is quality of earnings?
I gave you what I think.
He backed himself into a corner. He was responding too quickly. No. That's not a good look. And he got him.
The definition is.
Okay. So quality of earnings is I sit there and I want to sell the business to you.
Yeah.
You make an offer of $250 million. Okay? I tell you, this is my business. Here's how much profit we make. You leave and you say, great, let's make a deal. I'll pay you $250 million. We shake on it. Then you validate whether it is worth that or not by going and paying a big company a few $100,000 to check the quality.
So same deal as like having someone look at the quality of the gold that you're going to buy.
PwC came and they do a quality of earnings to say, is this company really worth this?
How does this have anything to do with whether the U.S. is more socialist than capitalist? We're so far away from the fucking prompt at this point.
Make a decision whether the company is truly doing what your Daily Beast claims to do.
The value comes from your brand. It comes from going on podcasts like that, even when they expose the business model, because you are not selling.
Do you know what ended up happening? Don't make claims you don't know about.
Do you know what you're selling?
Do you know what ended up happening?
You know what you're selling, right?
Do you know what ended up happening?
Do you know what you're selling?
The company
you're selling your personal
buying,
brand. You're selling the idea, because when you're offering people here jobs, right? You're saying that they would have to pay you money to get that. So in reality, you're trying to convince them to pay you money to be part of your company.
Claims of defaming. Be very careful defaming when you don't know the facts.
You have a recruitment fee.
Be very careful claiming. Be very careful making that claim when you said people here have to pay to work at our company.
It's recruitment
fee. Be very
fee.
careful. No, those are two different things.
Hi.
How are you?
Good, how are you? Tatiana.
Tatiana?
Yeah.
Good to
Anya,
meet you.
but yes. And your name's Patrick, right?
It is.
And I don't know a lot about you before coming in today. But why do you use socialism and capitalism like in this instance? I've noticed a lot of people have defined the vast differences, but you're insisting that we're still like a more socialist like country. Why are you insisting on that?
That's a fair question. So for me, there's different definitions you can have. Under communism, to me, it's 100% taxes, meaning I can't go create my own property.
It's not communism. What the... Whatever, who gives a shit? Fucking...
want to build a billion-dollar company.
Truth doesn't even matter anymore. If most people think communism is when the government takes all your money, we're cooked. We're lost. It doesn't matter. That's fundamentally what communism is in the minds of most people. It's whatever.
Can't do it under communism. Is that a fair assessment?
Yes, I guess it is.
It is. Okay.
Yeah.
So capitalism, I would ideally like to see taxes between 10 to 30% max. I'd like a flat tax, but somewhere between 10 to 30%.
Flat tax are terrible. I already talked about how flat taxes. Do we need to go over it again? Diminishing marginal utility, 3% of 30,000 is 3,000. Matters much more in a person who's making $30,000 a year than someone who is making $30 million, has to pay $3 million in taxes. Very regressive, hurts people who are low earners much more than high earners. Of course he wants a flat tax. Fucking course he wants a flat tax. And he has the gall to complain that people who are richer pay more money in taxes. No shit, you make more fucking money, you pay more money in taxes. That's simple.
Do think there's certain things that the government needs to do. Military protection, certain things. Socialism to me is 30% and up. Anything above that you're...
What? Socialism is when this arbitrary tax metric, tax bracket is 30%. What the... You do realize that words actually have meaning, right? Like, you can't just decide what you think socialism... I mean, you can, but that's not... I don't know. I decide that a greedy, like, idiot who has no idea how the world works is someone with, you know, the exact look and phenotypical, you know, appearance and all of that of Patrick Bet-David. Yeah, exactly. Sorry, I'm just telling you what my definition of a troglodyte is. It's Patrick Bet-David. You can't come after me. If this motherfucker thinks socialism is when taxes are more than 30%, then I can say that the definition of a room temperature, brain dead IQ individual is Patrick Bet-David. Hey, sorry. I mean, we're just allowed to make up definitions wherever the fuck we want at this point. Oh my God.
Taking the money away from me without my choice to use it for things where we get to 68%.
That's still taxation. You taking my money away. Taxation is theft. Fine. I don't give a shit. Then you're still fine with taxation, so you don't think it's theft. Okay? Like, I don't... Libertarians are so fucking gross. Eventually you have to stop being 14 and grow up.
Entitlement programs, I'm not a fan of that.
Okay, so let's talk about where we're at. I believe you said reasonable wage and minimum wage, but what about a livable wage? And we haven't really talked about livable wage.
He doesn't give a shit. Stop using words that are in your vocabulary that he doesn't know. You're asking someone who thinks socialism is when taxes are 30% and up, and communism is when everyone owns something, or the government owns everything. You're asking him with those definitions, what do you think a livable wage is? What do you think he's going to say? Livable wage is when you can have chocolate ice cream. That would make as much sense as the rest of his definitions, okay? Because they're not grounded in anything. He's just pulling shit out of his ass. Don't ask him what he thinks a livable wage is. It doesn't matter what he thinks it is, because he doesn't know what anything is. It's vibes. It's all vibes. Feelings over facts for this dude.
Just because they
what
kind
do
of
you think
differ.
about minimum wage? So what do you think minimum wage should be?
So I think we have a long way to go.
Okay.
I'm not really a big fan of these little increment things, especially when it's not like rent. It's, you know, stopping and leveling out. It's like it's, you know, far exceeding what most people
I don't disagree,
you know,
for
make.
sure. Yep.
And so I'm just wondering how you still can sit here and say that when I know you like to talk about you came up from Haagen-Dazs and all this other stuff.
In Glendale Galleria, 20 minutes away
great.
from here.
Love that for you.
I feel
but
my
we're talking about
my heartstrings are getting pulled out of my chest. Oh my God, he worked at Haagen-Dazs. Now I agree poor people shouldn't really exist and be able to afford rent and food because this dude worked at Haagen-Dazs. Oh my God, my worldview's been changed. Sorry.
Day and where I am a majority of these people in the room
sure.
and I haven't really heard Yes, we can change, but I think that there's certain systems.
Are you talking minimum wage? You want to address the minimum wage topic?
We can talk minimum wage, but I like to say livable wage because I think they're two very different things.
What do you think it should be?
I think that we should go per state because every state is different in
Give
terms
me a
of what
number.
they can
Where do
have.
you live? You live in California?
I live in California.
What do you think it should be?
Based
minimum
on the
wage.
MIT living wage calculator, it's an actual livable wage calculator. It's $27.81 should be the starting, and then if you have kids and so forth, then you can like go up from there.
Okay.
But starting at about $27 hourly.
So let's look at case studies of what happened. California chose to increase the minimum wage for
correlation causation. Whatever he's going to say next. California does this, therefore this happens. Has he drawn a link between the two? Or has he just said that the sun rose and then he walked into a Jubilee studio and decided to make a fool out of himself? Clearly the sun rising made Patrick Bet-David spew all this bullshit out because they happened in secession of one another.
Or fast food workers to $20 an hour, restaurant workers. Do you know what happened in the state of California?
Sure.
Mass exodus. People left and went different places. You know what restaurant owners did? Like, I can't compete with these guys if you raise the minimum wage. But the challenge with minimum wage is also the following. So say there's two companies. You have Walmart, okay, in Bakersfield. Pick a...
Everybody knows what's going to happen. Oh my God, you force minimum wage to be raised, and therefore Walmart's the only one who gets to pay for it, can pay for it, and you force all the small businesses out of business. This is a stupid argument, okay? Yeah, of course. Walmart might be able to pay that living wage. Maybe you have Walmart have to pay a different wage because of how much money they have. They wouldn't be as fucking wealthy as they are right now if they weren't paying people poverty wages for so long. Like, this is that simple. You're also ignoring the fact that when people have more money, they spend more money. You think when businesses are forced to give people a living wage or pay people more money, that those people just sit on the money? Of fucking course not. People like Bet-David do because that's what they do. They sit on their money. They store it in offshore banks and stuff so it can't be taxed. No, when normal people make money, they spend the money. So the money that the employer is having to pay to his employers, if it's more money, is more money that other people have to spend at their business. It stimulates the economy for everyone. But you don't really care about that because you do want more money that you can sit on and not have to pay other people with.
And you have a different supermarket that's been in the same family for 60 years.
Yeah, here we go.
The governor here says we're going to raise the minimum wage to $20 an hour. Who do you think can afford it?
Called it.
The market that's been within a family, the small business. Who do you think Walmart? Who do you think can afford to go to $20 an hour minimum wage?
So that's why I think we have to factor in other systems other than capitalism. I think you're kind of making the point that's been made a few times today where we can't just look at one thing.
No, this hasn't made. The point I'm making here is anytime a Bernie Sanders gets up and says, let's raise the minimum wage for $15, and he was caught in his campaign not paying his own workers $15, $13 an hour, and he had to talk about it and apologize that even a guy that's a socialist wasn't paying a minimum wage. But if you raise it to $15, Amazon celebrates. Walmart celebrates. Do you know why? Because the employers from this supermarket that have been working for this family for the longest time, they can't afford to pay that. So they leave and go to Amazon and Walmart. What happens? The bigger companies keep getting bigger. The small businesses go out of business because of minimum wage.
Okay, so you mentioned Bernie Sanders. I didn't mention him. Cool for Bernie Sanders, whatever. Do you pay a livable wage or a minimum wage for your employees?
There's not a single soul in our company that I pay $15 an hour or $20 an hour.
Okay, so are you paying them livable wages though?
Absolutely.
Okay,
of course we
based on your standards
because
or based
of my
on
choice.
like the stats?
Because of my choice.
So you're determining what people's livable wages are?
Well, no, I look at the marketplace and I see what's going on and I get to pick and choose what percentile of people I want to hire. Do I want to hire bottom 10%, 25%, 50%? I'll pay a little bit more because I want to get somebody that's got a little bit more experience.
Okay. Okay.
Tanya?
Titania.
Titania? Thank you.
Oh, is she back?
Hi again, Patrick.
How are you?
Good, how are you doing?
Good.
Can you remind me again why you think this country is largely socialist?
Out of the $4.9 trillion of revenue that we get in, 4.8, 68% goes to entitlement programs. That's the reason why I say America's socialism.
Do you think that we should have a say in where our taxpayer dollars go?
That's why we have elections.
Okay.
And you vote for it. Yeah.
So you agree that we should have a say in where our taxpayer dollars go?
If you're asking me who should have a right to vote, I would change the system in a major way of who would have the right to vote.
I'm not asking you if people
You're asking me a question.
I'm not asking you who should have the right to vote.
Right.
I'm asking you.
I want to hear.
Why
don't you let him tell you? Now I want to know. Now I want to know who he thinks should have the right to vote. Is he like repeal the 19th? It's like, man, poor people shouldn't vote because they vote for entitlement programs that I have to pay for.
The current system
taxpayer dollars should be dictated by us.
The
where
current
that goes.
election allows you to vote and decide who you want to be your candidate.
Absolutely. Okay, so I would argue that the biggest handouts go to billionaires because we give billions and billions of dollars in subsidies to billionaires every single year. Elon Musk just got a huge raise. Not sure why. He's worth over like hundreds of billions of dollars.
You're talking, be specific. You're talking about SpaceX?
I'm talking about SpaceX, Tesla.
SpaceX?
I'm talking about the companies that we fund as taxpayers. So why did we never vote for that?
Why did you never vote for the money going to some of these companies?
Do you see an issue with the fact that we as taxpayers didn't have a say in, first of all, electing this tech oligarch?
Well, I mean, we kind of did. I mean, representatives aren't representative of us whatsoever at all. But I mean, if you want to, we vote people into Congress, we vote people into the presidency who then approve that. Now, I agree they're not representative of us, but I don't really know her exact point here. I mean, yeah, Musk shouldn't have that much power, but I don't know, I'm a little confused.
And deciding where our taxpayer dollars go.
Once you elect who you elect, what they do next, you don't have a say during that time.
We didn't elect
until the next election. No, I'm talking Congress, Senate. They make a decision on who they give the money to and they approve.
But he's been getting this amount of subsidies through every administration. I'm not just referring to the Trump.
This is a weird argument.
Let's talk about how he's done, okay? So the NASA was shut down many years ago, okay? Since then, how has NASA done? Trying to find a way to go to space. What has SpaceX done? SpaceX has been able to do
what has
to
NASA
go to
done?
space.
NASA gave us the satellite, which you use every time you use your phone.
If you let me finish, NASA versus SpaceX. Elon Musk, as much as you hate him, Elon Musk was able to go to space for 1/20th of a cost because government organizations
Elon Musk has the ability to eradicate extreme poverty in this country, and he chooses to send rockets into space and make extremely ugly cars that we never actually funded.
Believe it or not, most liberals drive his cars, so...
Well, I would say the Cybertrucks, it's a poor decision aesthetically.
The Cybertruck?
I'm not discussing the aesthetics of his products.
It's so funny because when you say what you say about, say, the Democratic side on the climate change side, the guy that's worked towards that the most, you guys loved him till he supported Trump. Elon was your favorite 8 years ago until he supported Trump. The moment he went into Trump, this guy's a horrible guy. This guy's a terrible guy.
To be fair, I've hated Elon Musk consistently throughout my adult life. And I also think that he is someone who has benefited immensely from the government. That's why I find hypocrisy in what you're saying.
I don't disagree in that side.
He's benefited immensely from the exploitation of labor overseas. He's benefited immensely from his extremely aggressive union.
Every single one of Patrick's followers are going to tune you out right now. You're not critiquing his worldview. You're really not.
In tactics, union busting tactics. So I'm saying, like, why
is he a net positive to you for society?
Is he a net positive for me personally?
Is he a net positive for society, not for you?
I wouldn't say so.
You don't think he is?
No, I wouldn't say so.
Who to you is a net positive to society? Bernie Sanders?
I mean, Bernie Sanders is, I would say he's a compromise candidate, but I would say that...
He's a compromise candidate.
Yes, I would say he's a compromise candidate.
a net positive to society?
I would say net positive, yes.
More than Musk is?
Yes, absolutely.
Really? Tell me why.
Because AOC wants to introduce a Green New Deal, and I think that the New Deal is the closest thing...
For $30 trillion?
Okay, Trump literally just added $3.4 trillion to our deficit, so I really don't want to hear...
Between $30 trillion and
so
$3 trillion.
I'm saying that I think that, you know, when we look at the system that we currently have...
Pay like $7 trillion in healthcare over, what, a 10-year period? I'm too tired to remember exact numbers right now, but like 30 trillion, so scary. How much we've literally spent on fossil fuel subsidies as well as private healthcare expenditures vastly exceed any estimate in terms of Green New Deal or universal healthcare that would ever exist. But the question of how are we going to pay for it only gets asked in terms of universal healthcare, gets asked in terms of the Green New Deal, more social programs, never in taxes to the billionaire class or oil subsidies. Never does. We always find a way to pay for those. But things that would actually help the average American, no, we can't do that. We can't. We have to be really, really meticulous in the fine line to find all the money. But we have infinite money to send to Israel, to send to oil companies, to send to big pharma, to send to big agriculture. Like, I'll continue.
I think that we need to redistribute the wealth in a significant way, and we need to reintroduce something like the New Deal. And I think AOC has been the closest to doing that. I'm not saying I'm the biggest fan of her, but I'm saying that we need a marginal tax rate.
Right.
That is something similar to the New Deal, 70 to 90%. Ideally, I would go for a wealth tax. Anyone over $999 million has to pay every year. But I'm saying that...
Say that one more time. You would do what? Anybody that makes over...
I would introduce a wealth tax. So
Okay.
I'd say that anyone who makes over $999 million needs to pay. So I think that no one should be a billionaire. I think that we should put the cap...
No one should be a billionaire.
Absolutely not. Do you think that people can survive on $999 million?
This isn't how life works.
Do you think someone could survive on $999 million? I'm asking you, do you think someone would be okay?
Bad argument. I'm like, sorry, like I don't fully disagree with her, but like, do you think you could survive on it? Like, I don't know. Do you think you could survive on less money than you have now? Probably. Does that mean we should be able to take any money you don't need to survive? No. The argument is not they shouldn't be billionaires because they can survive on less. The argument is they shouldn't be billionaires because the money that they have is money that could otherwise be used to help more people. That's a better argument. It's the same argument with like Second Amendment being like, you don't need that gun. The argument against public ownership of AR-15s is not who needs an AR-15. It's that AR-15s in the hands of civilians lead to them falling into the wrong hands and leading with dead school children. That's the argument. The argument here is not, oh, can you really live? Of course you can live. No, it's not the argument. The argument is that people who have billions of dollars are doing it at the expense of those who cannot survive. That's the argument. It's just a really bad, I don't know. Like, bad debate is just hard on the ears, man. But David is such a bad debater and he could just be wiped the floor with.
To dictate.
Do you think someone's life would be impaired if they had only $999 million instead of $1 billion? You're not answering the question.
Unfortunately, these companies that continue to grow
Why are you avoiding my question?
created jobs for others.
Do you think someone could reasonably survive on $999 million?
You could probably reasonably survive on $150,000. You definitely can. Should it be illegal to have $200,000? No. I'm not saying they're equivalent, but I'm saying that's why that argument is bad. The argument is bad to claim that we should base this off of how much someone needs to survive. That's not the argument against billionaires. The argument against billionaires is that the wealth that they have is so exorbitant that it directly contributes to the poverty that those who live in poverty face. People in poverty are not oppressed because someone is making $200,000 instead of $150,000 or whatever. Someone is in poverty because someone's making $1 billion instead of just being a millionaire. That's the argument, not what they need, okay? I'm sure that Bet David and a billionaire could justify why they need or their lifestyle demands that they have billions of dollars. It doesn't matter whether they try to justify it in that way because that's not the argument that's being made.
How big a person wants to build their business. That's not true. By the way, why don't you elect someone that pursues those policies? Bernie was your hero for many years. He became compromised.
I never said he was my hero.
But how did Bernie become compromised?
I said that he's a compromised candidate.
Why is he a compromised candidate?
I mean, he was definitely compromised by the Democratic Party, who didn't want him elected.
What happened?
I'm saying he's a compromised candidate in that I would go further than him, but I also know that he's probably the best we have right now, and I would like to see him as president, ideally, or someone similar. I think Zohran Mamdani, who you mentioned earlier, I think he's an excellent candidate.
I can't wait for him to win. You know why I can't wait for him to win? Because I can't wait for the data that comes out after he wins. I can't wait to show you all the numbers in the next 4 years after he wins.
If rich people have to flee New York because of his policies, that means that they're too economically fragile to handle those taxes. No, because if you don't appreciate people that create jobs, they will go somewhere that they're appreciated. We have to look past job creation.
They pay high-paid jobs.
Many of the jobs,
if you bring value to the market.
The reality is that Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, and Jeff Bezos, they have huge monopolies over our market, and they're able to pay as little in wages as they'd like.
I think the only company that has a monopoly. They quite literally
control the wages and the costs in our economy.
Right.
When Amazon has 60% control over e-commerce, they can quite literally decide what wages and what costs people can earn and pay.
Your candidate, AOC,
I never said she was my candidate.
She's a net positive to society.
False endorsements on my
You said AOC is a net positive to society more than Elon Musk.
Absolutely,
perfect.
Yes.
When AOC was in New York, Amazon wanted to bring 25,000 jobs to New York. These were jobs that were paying $150 a year.
Because from what I understand, the people who work for Amazon have to walk 10 to 15 miles per shift. They have higher injury rates than the industry average.
These were jobs that were paying $150 a year.
I think we've been stopped.
She went against it. They went to a different place. 25,000 jobs they lost in New York.
And what would those jobs look like?
$150K a year minimum.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are we on to the... This is a long episode. I guess this makes sense. 10 minutes. See who we choose.
I'm going to go with my friend here.
Mason. Hell yeah. All right. Good for over there.
So I chose Mason because he was the only one that came up to me and said, Pat, I'd like to have a reasonable conversation with you. You came up. There was 3 other people I was thinking about. And because you were fair and respectful, I chose you.
So my claim is America has never been a meritocracy.
Okay.
It's a good one.
Tell me why.
So I think that when you see wealth disparity and the amount that it gives influences to certain individuals, specifically from a starting point, if we're looking at America like a race and someone is starting 2 inches from the finish line and someone is starting a mile back, we would not say that this is a judgment of their merit. We'd say that this is a system that allows those with the most influence to continue to be successful.
So is it about some of the people that got generational wealth have an advantage over others that didn't get it?
Yeah, and I'm not necessarily saying that that's a moral failure. I'm just saying when people claim that capitalism is a meritocracy, that's just factually inaccurate. And we shouldn't be allowed to lie here. Like we should try to be coming to a common consensus.
So capitalism is not a meritocracy?
No.
So you mean to tell me nobody here can go out there and win if they wanted to?
Nope, that's not the definition of a fucking meritocracy. Patrick Bet-David not understanding the definition of words strikes again.
Level.
No, I think that there's a probability that people can have social mobility or increase their economic conditions. It does not mean that everybody is able to. While some people could be a billionaire in the circle, not everybody could be.
If you're saying not everybody's able to, I fully agree. I can play baseball, but I'm probably not going to play in Major League Baseball.
I can spend the money on a lottery ticket. Doesn't mean I'm guaranteed to win the lottery.
I agree. So what's your point? I agree with you there.
So my point is that America is not a meritocracy. You said that.
No, you said there's 2 things.
Meritocracy is impossible. I just want to make it very clear. The meritocracy is a myth for many reasons, one of which being there's no such thing as an even playing field for many reasons. I mean, even sports isn't a meritocracy. Myth of fairness. It's not about fairness. Things about sports. No. Showcase of excellence. Okay, no one thinks that the person who works twice as hard as, or 4 times as hard as LeBron James should be accoladed as much as LeBron James. No. LeBron James, because of his performance, should be, valorized. That's it. That's the argument. It's a showcase of excellence. Capitalism is not a meritocracy in a very similar way because nothing can ever be entirely under your control. Okay, even if we're talking about something like natural talents. Okay, this is an interesting point to make. I think what a lot of the success that I experience online is due to my public speaking ability and ability to articulate things. I didn't do anything to earn this. I've always been fairly articulate in what I'm saying, and people have a desire to listen to what I'm saying. Okay, that's just a reality. So it's not a meritocracy because I would hypothetically be able to rise to the top because people like to hear what I want to say. There's multiple things about this too. John Rawls talks about this a lot in his book, A Theory of Justice, on why meritocracy really isn't a thing. Even natural talents, something like that. I don't have control over that. We also don't control the society in which we live that values our natural talents. So it's not a meritocracy in that sense either. So just in general, I don't. Meritocracy is like impossible. Like it's not even a thing. Like it's a myth. I'd recommend if you guys are interested in reading more about this. There's a really good book. It's called The Tyranny of Merit by Michael Sandel, and he's a philosopher at Harvard, a philosophy professor, or maybe not a philosophy professor. He's definitely a philosopher, but he's also a government professor at Harvard. That's beside the point. He has a bunch of different books. Now I'm on a tangent. His theory course, Justice. Look up Justice with Michael Sandel. Fascinating as well. But his book on the tyranny of merit is very, very, very fascinating. I could talk about his work and stuff for a long time. Highly recommend checking it out if you want a pretty convincing defense as to why meritocracy as a concept is just corrosive and just even self-defeating. It doesn't exist. Meritocracy is a myth. So yeah, I'll just continue.
Anybody at what levels you can have success. To me in life, there's 3 different types of people. You got overachievers, you got achievers, you got underachievers. Let me unpack this for a second. We got 10 minutes.
You can.
Overachiever, achiever, underachiever, okay? You can find a guy in school. We all remember the kid in school that we're like, that kid's gonna win in life, and he didn't. He was supposed to be an overachiever. He ended up being an underachiever. And there were kids in school that we looked at, we said, that guy's not gonna do anything with life. Dude, stay away from that guy. He ends up winning. He's an overachiever. So it's not about what you're, end up doing in your life. It's how close you reach to your capacity.
The winning that you're talking about, quote unquote, is wealth accumulation.
Not necessarily wealth accumulation.
It is. That's exactly what you just said.
If you end up, I have friends that make $120,000 a year. They have a good life. They're happily married, got 2 kids, and they chose to go live in a place like Victorville. They chose to go live in a different place. But to me, that is winning. They're contributing to society.
I have a genuine question for you, Patrick.
Please.
Do you think that a nurse or a hedge fund manager offers more social utility?
This is documented. appointed 14 years ago. I made a video talking about the 10 most honorable professions, and a hedge fund manager wasn't on that list, but a nurse was.
Wow.
I believe what nurses do, when my father's at the hospital.
Then why are they paid so much less? If monetary value is indicative of societal value because we live in a meritocracy, then by that logic, a hedge fund manager must be more valuable than a nurse. In fact, millions of times over, thousands if not millions of times over, in terms of how much more they are paid.
And I see how they attend to him. You have no idea how much respect I have for nurses.
Right.
It's a tough job.
And,
However,
but I would say the hierarchy of what our society looks like does not prioritize that in the same way that you're saying
but
that it
there's a
does.
difference. So there's a difference. Do I think a nurse is more important to the market than a basketball player? Yes. But the market wants to watch a basketball player play, so they pay Steph Curry $60 million a year.
We both agree that America's failing, right? Your last claim was about how America's socialist, and that's a bad thing. I assume that you're saying because of government intervention. Is
Absolutely.
That correct? So you think capitalism can exist without government intervention?
I think you need law and order because there will be abuse if you don't have it. In our insurance company, when I was run the company, I had to make sure there was law and order in there. If you don't have certain compliance, abuse will come in. When abuse comes in, if it's a free-for-all.
Are part of those laws like labor laws?
That can also be abused. No, it's a fair question you're asking, but a part of that can also be abused. A lot of those guys go in with the right intentions. Then they become dividers and they pin the employer against the employee. So then the divide and conquer model is very effective.
I just want to break this down. Do you think that there are not mutually exclusive interests in owners and workers?
Do I think there's mutual interest with owners and workers?
Do you think that they have a symbiotic relationship and when they're trying to achieve the same goal?
You're using too big of words for Patrick. He doesn't understand this. He graduated with a 1.8 GPA. Come on, Mason. Stop running rhetorical circles around him. Slow down. Draw pictures. Give him the picture book.
I like to give my employees equity because if you own equity in the company, you no longer are an employee. You treat it as if it's your own company. So I prefer to give my employees equity, but it's my choice. I don't want the government forcing me to give them equity. I'll give you a story. Do you remember that story of a guy who said, I pay every single one of my employees $70,000 a year? What was this guy's name? I don't know if you remember this guy. This story went viral. Socialism, what a noble guy. Everybody retweeted it, the Bernies of the world. Phenomenal guy. I invited him on the podcast. He comes on the podcast. I said, so tell me about your noble cause that you pay everybody 70 grand a year. He says, well, I don't think anybody should make over 70 grand a year. You can live off of $70,000 a year. I said, perfect. How many employees do you have? Let me make the point.
I hear what you're saying, but I don't think that this is conducive to our conversation.
I said, how many employees do you have? He says 100. I said, how many of those 100 own a single share of your company? None of them do. Who does? I do. You're a socialist claiming everybody should make that much money, but you're not giving equity?
I'm not endorsing this particular person.
This is so stupid. I'm sorry, this is genuinely so stupid. He's like, Mason, let me bring up this completely unrelated point that has nothing to do with our conversation. Aha, see? Look, owned. Mason isn't that guy. Oh my God.
Claiming everybody should make that much money, but you're not giving equity?
I'm not endorsing this particular person. I'd love to look into this, and maybe I'll watch the interview later.
There's a lot of contradictions in socialism when it comes down to action.
There are contradictions in the way that workers are trying to get as much wages as possible. That's just guaranteed. I want to get the maximum amount for the labor that I put into it. A owner wants to do the exact opposite. It's not that they want to pay people what they're deserved. They want to pay people what they can get away with. That's just virtually true.
I don't think that's the case. I don't think that's the case.
No, you already agree that coercion exists in the system.
It does.
You're just saying that socialism. You're saying that socialism is the government mandating owners to do it. But you're saying that markets do the exact same thing. You just said that the market price determines.
Don't put words in my mouth. I like you. You're respectful. You're a nice guy. Don't put words in my mouth.
Did you not say that markets determine market rates?
I haven't. What I'm telling you is there will be abuse in business. And if there is a person
I'm going to ask you the same question as soon as you're done, but continue.
There is abuse in business. Some people will take advantage of that. But the benefit of a free market capitalism is if I don't treat you fairly, you go work for him. If he doesn't treat you fairly, you go work for him. Eventually, if you bring enough value, guess who can't afford to lose you? I can't afford to lose you.
Do you think that markets determine market rates?
If I can't afford to lose you, guess what I have to do to you?
Do you think that markets determine market rates?
You didn't answer my question. If I can't afford to lose you, guess what I do to you?
Do you know what a monopsony is?
Tell me about it.
So do you know the difference between a monopoly and a
I know
monopoly?
monopoly. Tell me about monopoly.
Okay, so a monopoly is a single seller who has rare competition within the selling of the distribution. That creates like inflated prices and that can hurt consumers. But a monopoly is one single buyer. So this is an employer. There are things called company towns. You brought up the example of Walmart outpricing small businesses.
Sure.
I think that's a fantastic example.
On the minimum wage side.
Right, of how there are large businesses that utilize their leverage and their influence and their capital in order to determine what those wages look like in a given particular place.
Sure.
So what I want to argue is minimum wages seem to stifle monopolies because they allow people to start at the same floor rate. You're saying that big businesses have an advantage when there's a minimum wage because they can pay more?
They do.
We are also
they
advocating for higher taxation rates and capital gains taxes
Right.
on these businesses that are supposedly taking advantage of the system.
I think.
And wait. You can invest this in tax breaks for small businesses for people that have less employees. Maybe you say that less than 5 employees, they have certain tax incentives, so they're not taxed at the same rate as these large conglomerates. But that does not mean that a minimum wage is a bad idea, because like most people here said, you can't survive on less than $7 an hour in most places
You know
across
what's
the
the
country.
great thing about business and numbers and data is every idea is getting exposed. During COVID, all the policies that came out from the leftist side, they're all getting exposed today.
Name 2.
Within time, everybody realizes what works and what doesn't work.
Wait, can you name those policies besides just saying that they failed?
When states who chose kids to stay home instead of going to school.
When is that a socialist policy?
That is a control, because when a government is ran in a way that they're controlling.
That's not socialism, my friend.
Socialism is a form of
Socialism
control.
is a workers' control.
Socialism is a form of control, therefore anything controlled is socialism. So true. When I put my dog on a leash, I'm controlling him and I'm a socialist. You ever do anything about control? If you're a control freak, do you know you're socialist? Because that's apparently what these fucking words mean, because we can just say anything anymore. And because anything is a control, and I've contrived in my mind that socialism equals control when government control, then any control is socialism. God, how, oh my God. This dude is literally proof that it doesn't take a genius to be a millionaire.
There's the ultimate control.
No, socialism is workers' control of their own workplace.
Socialism is a form of control.
No, it's not.
Communism is the ultimate control.
See, you're using this rhetorical device as saying that capitalism equals freedom, socialism equals control.
I want to be respectful
that,
to you, and I've given you a couple questions that you haven't answered yet.
I'll answer any question.
I want to go back to the question that I asked you.
The rhetorical strategy that you're using might be beneficial for a large media platform. It's not based in reality.
If you bring value to me, and you're so effective to my company, if you get to a point that I don't give you a good salary and I don't give you equity, what's going to happen to you most likely?
I'm going to try to start a union within my workplace, so that way we can collectively bargain on how to raise the floor.
That's
for all
one of
us.
the options, but guess typically what ends up happening?
What happens? They're
you
busted?
You leave and you go to a different company and they
Are you saying
equity.
the owners bust the union? Is that what you're saying?
No, that's not
successful?
what I'm saying. I'm not talking union. You're talking about a different candidate.
Oh gosh, god damn it, Mason, you didn't follow my flowchart. I asked you a question and then you gave me a different answer as to what I had in my brain. So now I'm forcing you down to the flowchart. Oh, say guy answer. Give my answer. Don't give your answer.
Think about unions.
I think in some places they work. I told you earlier, in many cases they're divisive.
We agree. You also mentioned Wealth of Nations. You like Adam Smith?
I think a lot of his ideas, yes.
Do you disagree, or do you also agree that landlords are parasites?
I don't agree landlords are parasites.
Adam Smith, even a Wealth of Nations author, said that.
He
said that rent is...
You're cherry picking. I don't think landlords are parasites. I think in many cases, when you think about what's happening with New York right now, this is why I'm telling you guys, I hope all of us reunite in 4 years and we have a conversation, and I hope Mamdani wins. I am hoping Mamdani wins because that case study is going to get opened up and all of you guys are going to see it.
Can we both agree that corporate Democrats are a stain on this country?
Corporate
Democrats that utilize their leverage and utilize their influence to maximize their own private wealth is a bad thing that we should discourage?
I think if it's their choice. I don't think you and I get to tell them what to do and what not to do.
So you think that like insider trading should be allowed?
I'm not for insider trading whatsoever.
But you just said it's their choice.
No, if you're being
you can
specific,
use your influence.
If you're specific with insider trading, that's a different conversation.
I just think that all of these are examples of why capitalism is not a meritocracy, especially when you're saying that politicians who utilize their influence to maximize their own wealth.
Could be right.
When you're talking about landlords who are profiting off of necessity for people, or you're talking about business owners who stifle unions for people that just want to collectively organize.
You could be right if the data was shown. I'll shake your hand, absolutely. I'm not trying to disrespect you. No.
Thank you.
You've been very respectful. No.
Debate's over.
But for me to tell you this, everything here can be proven based on data.
Correct.
If your policies are so attractive, I'm going to come to you.
Empirical data shows that worker cooperatives are not only more
you.
sustainable to market collapses, but they also provide more of an actual attachment to the work that those workers have. The alienation of labor is absolutely making people hate their jobs. Why do you think most people watching probably don't like the workplace that they're in, but still agree that there's some problem in America, whether they're saying it's immigrants or whether they're saying it's billionaires? What the problem is in America is people don't feel an actual attachment to what they're producing in the world.
What do you think about Social Security? What do you think about what FDR did?
Wait, actually, do you have nothing to say about those worker cooperatives?
Your point's been made.
How did we get to... Oh my God. What do you think about the fact that I fucked your mom last night? This is literally the equivalent of like what Bet David is saying in terms of like the relation to the last thing he said. What's your favorite hot dog? All right. What's your favorite racing sausage for the Milwaukee Brewers? You know?
Go back to Social Security. This has been done with, right? If we have a couple minutes, what do you think about Social Security and how FDR came up with it?
Yeah, I think FDR, from most historians, are placed in the top 3 of all presidents, and that's from conservatives and Democrats. I think that FDR got a lot of things great. I really like his second bill of economic rights. I think it's very vital that we provide people with housing, we decommodify things that are necessities. Do you know the difference between elastic and inelastic goods?
Stay on Social Security.
Oh, so you don't know the difference?
What do you think about Social Security? Stay on that.
Okay. Well, Social Security, I think, was initially had as a social safety net to add a...
God damn it. Why didn't they just let me continue longer with Cenk? If I knew the clock didn't matter, I mean, I kind of knew that. If I knew the clock didn't matter, I wouldn't have tried to wind down our conversation when I did. Damn, all right, if I'm on one of these again, I'm just going to keep talking.
Supplemental income to people's pensions. So most people going into like the 1950s all the way up to the 1980s were given pensions by corporations as a promise to, if you work for my firm, I'll make sure that I supplement the exact same salary that you're getting throughout the rest of your life. Now, what Ronald Reagan did was he changed the pensions to contribution-based retirement, which means I have to put this into the 401k, I have to put it in the stock market, and if the stock market collapses...
Do you think Social Security ended up being a system that worked?
I think that Social Security is definitely needed as a supplemental income. And right now, since we have contribution-based retirements, it's absolutely needed. Because if you don't want old people eating cat food, we probably need some sort of sustainable income for them.
When he came up with Social Security, do you think his intention was to have 74 million people use it today? Do you think that's what he thought was going to happen?
Yeah, and I think it's because you're not gutting the program in its entirety. So you can say that Social Security...
Hold on. Why are people on Social Security? If... This is like the whole thing. You're like, oh my God, so many people are reliant on social programs. It's a leech on the system. Maybe the system fucking sucks. Have you thought about that? Maybe the fact that so many people are reliant on Medicaid, Medicare, and Social Security is because they're not paid enough money. Like this is not indicative of the fact that the program's the problem. The program is indicative of the fact that there is a problem.
is a failure if you take the wheels off of a car. The car's not going to run. But if you continue to buff it up and you make sure that you have good guardrails, but it can be a successful program.
The challenge is, a lot of time when you come up with a noble idea to try to fix something today, ends up getting bigger and you never expected it. When Social Security first came out in 1935, the first benefits were paid in 37, and it was paid in a lump sum. At that time, we had 128 million people living in America. Do you know how many people got Social Security?
Tell me.
54,000. Do you know when benefits started?
Tell me.
65 years old. So let me say this again to you. Life expectancy was 61. Social Security benefits started at 65.
Right. So you're saying because we've increased life, people need to work longer, right?
0.04%.
So grandma should be working at the
Let me make my point,
right
and then you can say anything you want to say.
Well, I'm just saying, you said as life expectancy increases, people should be working longer.
Let me tell you
you
today,
want to extend the retirement age, correct?
If you bring that to today, and you bring the math, exact same formula as the great FDR came up with.
See, Patrick, here's the difference between our worldviews. You're saying that because Social Security,
there's 340 million people. Let me say the point, and then I'll let you speak as long as you want to speak.
Great.
So that went from, math again for you, 54,000 out of 128 million people.
This is pretty good math for someone with a 1.8 GPA. Gotta say.
Life expectancy 61, benefits start 65. Today, it's 74 million out of 340 million. That's 21%. When life expectancy is 78, benefits start at 65. Do you know who's going to pay the price on Social Security? Not my generation.
Yeah, if
yours
we keep doing cuts, correct. If we keep doing cuts,
no, because you're going to run out of money. You're going to run out of money.
No, that's not how it works. So the difference between our worldview, Patrick, is you're saying not only should people work longer into life because life expectancy has increased, but they should work longer into life without guarantees for health care, without preventative care, and that's not only going to increase the deterioration of people's living conditions, It's also going to lead to a worse economy. Because let me tell you, 70-year-olds not going to be the most productive members of our economy. They should be spending time with their families. They should be easing into their passing away. We shouldn't be forcing grandma to go to the mill.
It's going to be on your back. You'll be paying for this in 30 years.
Appreciate you. Yeah, I think that Patrick is a really great salesman. I think that he came in and confidently sold what capitalism is. But I think that the main point of today really showed that capitalism's best product is giving excuses for its own failures.
I don't think that we should be giving these people a large platform to amass a larger following, but I do think that we should expose these people to the light. And I think that even if people have horrendous and repulsive views like he did, I want to hear them because I want to know who those people are.
I also don't think that he really listened to a lot of the claims. I also don't think everyone listened to his claims either. So I don't know how productive of a dialogue it was, but maybe we convinced some people at home one way or the other, and maybe there's some value to that, maybe not.
My vision for America is, if there's anything that's happened after COVID, we used to be here. We disagreed on issues here. This is center, this is libertarian, this is conservative, and then during COVID we went here. You
think that
where we are in a very interesting place that some people don't even want to talk to somebody else that they don't agree with. It's gotten to the point that we are a little bit too divided right now, and I'd like to see America be more united than as divided as it is.
All right, one sec. Let's look at the bingo card before we go. So I got 3 bingos. Let's see. I feel like there were some fact checks. I don't know. We'll leave them for now. There were some fact checks. I just think the fact checks were bad. You know what I mean? I don't think any of the participants got the proven wrong. You know what I mean? Like there was one for Zeno where they tried to prove it wrong, and they just, I think the way that they fact checked it made it not clear that she actually was wrong. They were using a terrible statistic. Yeah. Let's see. Okay. Yeah, all right, three bingos. Anyways, yeah, so I'll move myself back up here. Let me know your bingo card down below in the comments. Sorry, this filming is almost 3.5 hours, so let me drag the window back up, and we'll definitely just debrief for a little bit, and that's kind of all about. So here we go. All right, so we're back. I'm gonna be honest, I don't really know the thoughts that I have right now. It's really interesting to see how, like, he just doesn't listen to what they're saying because he just genuinely doesn't know. Like, he's there to sell a vision. He's just there to sell a vision that capitalism is the best system, and also to just, like, unapologetically misrepresent other positions are like something like socialism. Like, he just unapologetically, like, yeah, socialism is control. Like, it's just, I don't know. Like, no one should listen to him on anything that has anything to do with socialism whatsoever at all. So, I don't know. I'm gonna be honest, guys. My brain is like fried from that. I don't have many more comments or things to kind of include. That's kind of mainly what I have. There'll be some interesting moments in this one. This might have been the one where I crashed out the earliest, but it's hard not to. It's hard not to when someone like him just lies so much, doesn't engage with conversation. Frankly, I'm gonna be honest. I'm not just we know what we're getting with Patrick Bet-David, but just the quality of the debate sometimes is just it's painful. You know what I mean? When he's not called out on the most simple things and instead just kind of gets away with a bunch of other things of that nature. So I don't know. I don't have much else. In lieu of me continuing just blabbering on, I'll think I should end this here, but if you made it all the way through, it's gonna get cut down a bit in terms of editing, but if you got through it's almost 3.5 hours of this, thank you so much for watching. As always, definitely subscribe here if you want to see more of these videos. I plan to continue to subject myself to this type of torture, sitting in front of this, but responding to this, but despite all of the, aneurysms I feel that I get for these videos, I still definitely feel like I still enjoy and get something out of them and articulating my ideas. I definitely feel like I learned something new when watching these videos, and hopefully you do as well. So if you enjoy these types of videos, definitely, as I said, subscribe. Check out the links down below in terms of subscribing to my Instagram, my TikTok as well, where I post some shorter form content, and that's kind of all I've got. I'm gonna quick finish up this video like right now. There should be a couple of videos or one video and a subscription button here. Click them, definitely subscribe, and that's kind of all I've got. And yeah, thank you so much for tuning in, and until next time, take care.